Rain hammered the asphalt like bullets the night Lena Carter died in that alley, or should have. Blood mixed with dirty water beneath her cheek while Derek Vaughn's hands crushed her windpipe, and she understood with perfect clarity that survival was never guaranteed to people like her. Broken. Hunted. Alone with an 8-year-old nephew who hadn't spoken since watching his parents burn alive in a car wreck 3 months earlier. Then headlights cut through the darkness, and a man in a tailored black coat stepped from the shadows, wearing the calm expression of someone who decided whether people lived or disappeared. Adrian Russo. The name the city whispered with fear. He saved her life with 2 words, let go, and offered protection that felt more like a contract with the devil than salvation. If you want to know how a woman drowning in debt and a crime boss with blood on his hands became a family, stay until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Vaughn. The rain started 3 hours before Derek Vaughn found her. Lena Carter stood behind the counter at Marcello's Italian kitchen, watching water stream down the windows while her hands moved on autopilot. Wipe, stack, wipe again. The restaurant was closing. Just her and Jimmy, the line cook, left in the back. The dining room already dark except for the exit signs bleeding red light across empty tables. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She ignored it. It buzzed again. She grabbed it with wet hands, saw the message preview, and her stomach dropped through the floor. I know where you are. The phone slipped from her fingers, clattered against the tile. Jimmy poked his head through the kitchen window, grease-stained bandana tied around his forehead. You good? Lena didn't answer. Couldn't. Her throat had sealed shut the way it always did when Derek's ghost came crawling back from whatever hole he'd disappeared into after she fled their apartment 4 months ago with nothing but Noah and 2 garbage bags of clothes. Lena! Jimmy's voice sharpened. What's wrong? She forced herself to breathe. Picked up the phone with shaking hands. Blocked the number. It wouldn't matter. Derek always found a way. Nothing, she lied. Just tired. Jimmy studied her too long, saw too much, but he was good people. He let it go. Want me to walk you out? No, I'm fine. Another lie. She finished closing alone, checked the locks twice, stood in the kitchen doorway staring at the alley exit like it might swallow her whole. The rain had turned vicious, hammering the metal dumpsters loud enough to drown out thought. Her car was parked 3 blocks away because she couldn't afford the lot fees. She'd have to run for it. Lena pulled her jacket tight, shoved through the door, and stepped into hell. The alley was narrow, choked with dumpsters and recycling bins stacked against brick walls slick with rain. Security light above the door had been broken for weeks. Management kept promising to fix it, never did. She moved fast, head down, sneakers splashing through puddles that smelled like rotting food and piss. She made it maybe 20 feet before hands grabbed her from behind. Lena screamed. The sound died in her throat as an arm locked around her neck, dragging her backward into the darkness between 2 dumpsters. She clawed at the arm, kicked wildly, connected with nothing. Shut up, Derek's voice in her ear, familiar and wrong, soaked with rage and something worse, satisfaction. Just shut the hell up. He slammed her against the brick wall hard enough to crack her skull against stone. Stars exploded across her vision. Her knees buckled. Derek's hand found her throat, squeezed, lifted until her toes barely scraped ground. 4 months, he hissed. Spit flecked her face. His breath reeked of whiskey and cigarettes. 4 goddamn months you made me look for you. Lena couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. Her hand scrabbled uselessly at his wrist, while her lungs screamed for air that wouldn't come. Derek leaned closer, his face a shadow with wild eyes. Where's the kid? She tried to shake her head, couldn't. Noah belongs to me. You know that. I raised him after your bitch sister died. I fed him, clothed him. He's mine. Black spots crawled across Lena's vision. Her legs stopped fighting. This was it. This was how she died. In a filthy alley behind a restaurant that paid her $11 an hour, murdered by a man she'd once been stupid enough to love. Then light blazed through the darkness. Headlights. Bright and sudden, cutting through the rain like judgment. A car door opened. Footsteps. Calm. Measured. Moving closer. Derek's grip loosened just enough for Lena to drag in half a breath. Let her go. The voice was quiet. Male. Precise. It carried the kind of authority that didn't need volume, the tone of a man who expected obedience because he'd never been refused. Derek's head snapped toward the light. Mind your own business. You're in my alley. That makes it my business. Lena's vision cleared enough to see him, a silhouette backlit by headlights, tall and lean in a tailored black coat that probably cost more than her rent. Rain ran off the fabric like it didn't dare cling. His face was shadow and sharp angles, but his posture radiated the kind of control that came from knowing exactly how dangerous he was. Derek laughed. Actually laughed. Your alley? Who the hell? Adrian Russo. The name hit like a bullet. Derek's hand spasmed on Lena's throat. She felt his whole body go rigid. Everyone in the city knew that name. Everyone with half a brain feared it. I don't want trouble, Derek said, and for the first time his voice carried something other than rage. Fear. Just taking back what's mine. She's not an object. Adrian stepped closer, slow and deliberate. The headlights illuminated him fully now. Dark hair slicked back from a face too composed to be natural, sharp jaw, eyes like black glass. Mid-30s, maybe. Handsome in the way predators were handsome. And you're going to let her go before I make you. Derek's fingers tightened. Lena choked. You threatening me? Adrian tilted his head, considering. No. I'm giving you an opportunity. Walk away. Forget you were here. Forget she exists. She stole my kid. Not your kid. Adrian's voice didn't rise, but the temperature in the alley dropped 10 degrees. Let her go. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. Rain hammered. Lena's vision tunneled. Derek's hand trembled against her throat. Then he shoved her away so hard she collapsed into a puddle, gasping and retching while her lungs screamed. Derek backed toward the street, hands raised, eyes locked on Adrian. This isn't over. Yes, Adrian said quietly. It is. Derek ran. Lena stayed on her hands and knees, coughing up bile and rainwater while her throat burned like she'd swallowed glass. Footsteps approached. She flinched. Easy. Adrian crouched beside her, coat fanning out across the wet ground. Up close, his face was impossible to read, beautiful and cold as a Renaissance sculpture. Can you stand? She tried. Failed. Her legs had turned to liquid. Adrian didn't ask permission. He slid one arm beneath her shoulders, the other under her knees, and lifted her like she weighed nothing. Lena wanted to fight, to scream, to do anything except let this stranger carry her to his car, but her body had shut down, shock flooding every nerve. He set her in the back seat. Leather. Warm. Smelled like expensive cologne and something darker. Gunpowder, maybe. The driver up front didn't turn around, didn't speak, just started the engine when Adrian climbed in beside her. Hospital? The driver asked. No. Lena's voice came out wrecked, barely recognizable. I can't afford. I'm fine. Adrian studied her with those unreadable eyes. You're not fine. I will be. Just drop me at my car, 3 blocks that way. You're bleeding. She touched her head. Her fingers came away red. She hadn't even felt it. Please. The word cracked. I need to get home. My nephew. He's alone. I can't. I have to. How old? What? Your nephew. How old is he? 8. Adrian's jaw tightened. Something flickered across his face too fast to identify. He's alone now? At night? Shame burned through the shock. My neighbor watches him when I work late, but if I'm not home by 11, she leaves. I have to. Address. She gave it. Adrian relayed it to the driver who pulled into traffic without a word. Lena pressed herself into the corner of the seat, watching the city blur past through rain-streaked windows. Her mind spun in useless circles. Derek found her. Derek knew where she worked. Derek would come back. He always came back. Restraining orders meant nothing. Police reports disappeared into overworked systems that didn't care about broken women and traumatized kids. She was dead. They both were. It was just a matter of time. What's your name? Adrian asked. She didn't want to answer. Didn't want this man, this stranger, this criminal, knowing anything about her. But he'd saved her life, and exhaustion made her honest. Lena. Lena Carter. The man who attacked you. Ex-boyfriend? Ex-everything. I left 4 months ago. Took Noah with me. Derek thinks he owns us both. Noah. That's your nephew. Yes. Where are his parents? The words stuck in her throat. Dead. Car accident. I'm his legal guardian now. Adrian absorbed this in silence. The car turned onto her street, a rundown neighborhood where apartments leaked and sirens sang lullabies every night. Her building looked worse in the rain, paint peeling, windows cracked, the kind of place people lived because they had no other choice. The driver parked. Adrian climbed out first, opened her door like she was royalty instead of garbage pulled from an alley. Lena stumbled getting out. He caught her elbow, steadied her. Which apartment? 3F. I can manage from here. Thank you for... I'm walking you up. It wasn't a request. Lena didn't have the strength to argue. She led him through the broken security door, up 3 flights of stairs that smelled like weed and old cooking grease. Her hand shook so badly she dropped her keys twice before getting the door open. The apartment was dark except for a nightlight in the hallway. Silent. Lena's heart lurched. Mrs. Chen? She called. No answer. She moved fast through the tiny space. Living room, kitchen, bedroom. Found Noah curled on his bed fully clothed, hugging a stuffed rabbit worn bald in places. Asleep. Safe. Lena sagged against the doorframe, relief so intense it hurt. Adrian stood in the hallway behind her, taking in the peeling wallpaper, the cracks in the ceiling, the window held together with duct tape. His expression never changed, but something about his stillness felt like judgment. He's fine, Lena whispered. You can go now. Adrian didn't move. Derek Vaughn. That's his full name? Why? Because he'll come back. Men like that always do. I know. The admission tasted like ash. I'll figure something out. Get a new job. Move again. Change our names. You'll do nothing. Adrian's voice cut through her spiral clean and sharp. Because running didn't work the first time, and it won't work now. Anger flared hot enough to burn through the exhaustion. Then what the hell am I supposed to do? The cops don't care. Restraining orders are just paper. I have $800 in the bank and debt collectors calling me every day because Noah's medical bills after the accident nearly destroyed me. I'm working 60-hour weeks for poverty wages, and it's still not enough. So unless you've got a magic solution, I'm doing the best I can. Adrian studied her. I do have a solution. Great. What? Call your mob friends to kill him? I can't pay for that either. No payment required. He said it like discussing the weather. I'll handle Derek Vaughn, but in exchange, you work for me. Lena laughed. It came out bitter and half hysterical. Doing what? I'm not a criminal. Good. I don't need criminals. I need hostesses for my restaurant. Legitimate work. $16 an hour, full benefits, childcare stipend. The numbers didn't make sense. Why would you... We're strangers. You don't know me. I know enough. Adrian glanced toward Noah's room. I know that child needs stability. I know you're drowning. And I know Derek Vaughn put his hands on you in an alley I own, which makes this situation my responsibility. Your responsibility. She repeated it slowly, testing for the trap. Nothing's free. What do you really want? For violence to stop spilling onto my territory. He straightened his cuffs, precise and controlled. You work at my restaurant. You and the boy move into an apartment I own. Secure building, actual security, no cost to you. Derek comes near either of you again. I make him disappear permanently. The word should have terrified her. Instead, something deep in Lena's chest unclenched for the first time in months. You're a crime boss, she said flatly. Among other things. You hurt people. When necessary. And you expect me to just, what, trust you? Adrian's mouth curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. No, I expect you to be smart enough to recognize when you're out of options. Lena wanted to argue, wanted to throw him out, tell him she'd handle this herself, maintain the illusion of control. But she was so goddamn tired, tired of running, tired of fear, tired of checking over her shoulder every second of every day while Noah grew quieter and more broken. I need to think about it. You have until tomorrow night. After that, Derek will have regrouped, and this conversation becomes significantly more difficult. Adrian pulled a card from his coat pocket, held it out. Heavy stock, embossed lettering, just a phone number. Call me when you decide. He left without waiting for a response. Lena stood in her cracked hallway holding the card, listening to his footsteps fade down the stairs. In his room, Noah stirred, made a small sound in his sleep. Lena went to him, sat on the edge of his bed, smoothed dark hair back from his forehead. He looked so young, so breakable. He hadn't spoken a real word since the accident, just nodded or shook his head when pressed, drew pictures of fires and twisted metal that his therapist said were normal processing. He deserved better than this. Better than an aunt who couldn't keep them safe. Better than nights alone because Lena had to work herself sick just to keep them fed. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. You can't hide from me forever. Lena's hands started shaking again. She blocked the number, knowing it wouldn't matter. Derek was right. She couldn't hide forever. But maybe she could stop running. She looked at Adrian's card. At Noah, sleeping fitfully, still fully dressed because she hadn't been home to help him into pajamas. At the water stain spreading across the ceiling from the leak upstairs that the landlord refused to fix. Smart enough to recognize when you're out of options, Lena picked up her phone and dialed before she could change her mind. Adrian answered on the first ring. Decision made? One condition, Lena said. You don't touch Derek unless he comes after us first. I'm not asking you to murder someone just because I'm scared. Silence. Then, agreed? When do we start? I'll have movers at your apartment tomorrow at 9. Bring what you want to keep. Everything else gets replaced. A car will pick you up at noon for your first shift. That fast? When I make a decision, Ms. Carter, I commit to it completely. His voice carried an edge she couldn't quite identify. Get some sleep. Tomorrow your life changes. He hung up. Lena sat in the dark, holding her phone, wondering if she'd just made a deal with the devil or found the only person willing to keep them alive. In the end, she supposed it didn't matter. Either way, there was no going back now. The movers arrived at 8:47 a.m. 3 men in matching uniforms who worked with military efficiency. Lena had expected judgment, the kind of looks people gave when they saw how little you owned, how badly you lived. Instead, they packed her life into boxes without comment, careful with Noah's drawings, gentle with the few pieces of her sister's jewelry she'd managed to keep. Noah watched from this corner, clutching his rabbit. He hadn't asked questions when Lena explained they were moving, hadn't protested or cried, just nodded and retreated into the silence he'd lived in for months. Lena wanted to shake him, wanted to scream until he reacted, said something, proved he was still human underneath the trauma. Instead, she knelt beside him and tried to make her voice sound certain. New place is going to be better, safer. You'll have your own room. Noah stared past her shoulder. I know you're scared. I am too, but I'm trying to protect us. Can you trust me? Finally, he looked at her. Dark eyes too old for 8 years. He nodded once. It would have to be enough. By 11:30, the apartment was empty. Lena stood in the middle of the space she'd hated and clung to, studying the water stains and cracked linoleum like she'd never see them again. Good riddance. This place had been a tomb pretending to be shelter. The car that picked them up was sleek and black, windows tinted, interior leather still smelled new. The driver, same man from last night, opened the door without speaking. Noah climbed in first, pressed himself against the window. Lena followed. They drove north out of the city, past neighborhoods that went from broken to struggling to merely tired, then suddenly crossed some invisible line into wealth. The change was sharp. Crumbling apartments gave way to renovated brownstones, then to actual houses with yards, then to streets lined with trees that looked intentionally planted instead of desperately surviving. Where are we going? Lena asked. The driver glanced at her in the mirror. Mr. Russo's estate. I thought we were moving into an apartment. The apartment building is on the estate grounds, separate structure, staff housing. Staff. Right, that's what she was now. They turned onto a private road, followed it through gates that opened automatically, continued up a drive lined with manicured landscaping. The main house appeared around a curve, stone and glass, modern architecture balanced with classical proportions, sprawling across grounds that could have swallowed her entire apartment building 3 times over. Lena had known Adrian was rich, but this was different. This was the kind of wealth that insulated you from reality completely. The driver parked near a smaller building offset from the main house. 3 stories, brick and glass, tasteful without being ostentatious. 3rd floor, Unit 7. Keys are being delivered now. They climbed out. Noah stayed close to Lena's side, rabbit clutched tight. Inside, the building was clean and quiet. Hallways carpeted, walls painted neutral tones. Nothing like the chaos and decay they'd left behind. Third floor, Unit 7. The door stood slightly open. Lena pushed inside and stopped dead. The apartment was beautiful, not fancy, not dripping with obvious wealth, just clean, warm, functional, hardwood floors, furniture that looked comfortable instead of just cheap, a kitchen with appliances that probably all worked, windows without cracks or duct tape. 2 bedrooms, an actual bathroom with a tub deep enough to submerge in. Noah wandered through the space like he'd entered a foreign country. He stopped in the smaller bedroom, stared at the bed with its navy comforter, at the desk positioned beneath the window, at the empty walls waiting for his drawings. "This is yours," Lena said. "What do you think?" Noah didn't answer, but he set his rabbit carefully on the bed, and that felt like acceptance. A knock interrupted the moment. Lena opened the door to find a woman in her 50s, stylishly dressed, holding a tablet. "Ms. Carter? I'm Margaret Chen, Mr. Russo's property manager. I'll be your main point of contact for anything building related." "Chen? Like my old neighbor?" "Different Chen. Common name." Margaret smiled. "Mr. Russo wanted me to ensure you have everything you need. The apartment is fully furnished, but if you'd like anything changed, let me know. Kitchen is stocked with basics. Wi-Fi password is on the counter. Any questions?" Lena had 1,000 questions. She asked the only one that mattered. "What's the catch?" Margaret's smile didn't falter. "No catch. You work for Mr. Russo. You're taken care of. That's how he operates. And if I want to leave? 30 days notice, same as any employment contract. You're not a prisoner, Ms. Carter. You're an employee with housing benefits." Margaret checked her tablet. "Your first shift starts at 5. Transport will pick you up at 4:30. Dress code is business casual. Black slacks, white shirt. If you don't have appropriate attire, there's an allowance account set up for you at 3 local shops. Just tell them Mr. Russo sent you." She left before Lena could process half of what she'd said. Noah emerged from his room, looking lost. "Hungry?" Lena asked. He nodded. The kitchen was indeed stocked. Real food, fresh vegetables, milk that didn't expire tomorrow. Lena made grilled cheese because it was Noah's favorite, and one of the few things she could reliably cook without burning. They ate at the small table by the window overlooking ground so green they looked painted. "Better than the old place?" she asked. Noah chewed slowly, considering, then nodded. Progress. At 4:25, Lena changed into the best clothes she owned. Black pants with a small stain near the hem she'd tried to hide, a white blouse missing one button. She looked at herself in the bathroom mirror and saw exactly what she was. A woman pretending she belonged somewhere she absolutely didn't. The car arrived precisely at 4:30. This time, a different driver, older, with kind eyes. "Noah stays here?" Lena asked Margaret, who'd appeared to oversee departure. "I'll check on him every hour. He has my number if he needs anything." It felt wrong leaving him, but Noah was already absorbed in unpacking his art supplies, arranging them on his new desk with the focused intensity he brought to everything since the accident. He barely looked up when she said goodbye. The restaurant was 20 minutes away, tucked into a historic downtown district where brick buildings dripped with ivy and outdoor cafes charged $20 for salad. The sign read, "Marcello's" in elegant script, same name as the place she'd worked before, but this was clearly the flagship location. Inside was dim and intimate, tables draped in white linen, candles already lit, though they wouldn't open for another hour. Classical music played softly. The scent of garlic and fresh bread made Lena's stomach growl, despite the grilled cheese. A man in chef's whites emerged from the kitchen, late 40s, barrel-chested, face weathered by years of heat and pressure. "You're the new girl." "Not a question." "Lena Carter. Tony Marcello. I run the kitchen. Adrian owns the building. I run the food. Your hostess tonight. Think you can smile and point people at tables without causing chaos?" "I worked hostess at your other location for 2 months." "That shithole?" Tony snorted. "This is different. We get people who actually know food here. Politicians, businessmen, the kind of customers who complain if you breathe wrong. Can you handle that?" Lena thought about Derek's hands on her throat, about blood in alley water, about everything she'd survived in the past 24 hours. I can handle it. Tony studied her, seemed to find something satisfactory. Good. Training is Sarah's job. She'll show you the system. Don't screw up, and we'll get along fine. Sarah turned out to be a woman around Lena's age with perfect makeup and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She ran Lena through the reservation system, the table rotation, the VIP section, the 10,000 unspoken rules about who sat where and when. Adrian comes in most nights, Sarah said casually, usually around 8. He has a standing table in the back corner, never sits anywhere else, never brings dates, sometimes brings business associates. You don't look at them, don't listen to their conversations, definitely don't repeat anything you might overhear. Got it. He'll probably ignore you completely. Don't take it personally. He's not interested in small talk with staff. Lena wondered if Sarah knew about last night, decided she probably didn't. The restaurant opened at 6. Within minutes, the quiet space transformed into controlled chaos. Tables filling, servers moving with practiced efficiency, Tony's voice booming orders from the kitchen. Lena managed the door, greeted guests, navigated the reservation system without major disasters. At 8:07, Adrian Russo walked through the door. He looked different in a charcoal suit instead of the black coat, hair styled back, but the same cold control radiated from him. 2 men flanked him, both large, both alert, in that particular way that screamed security. Adrian's eyes found Lena immediately. Something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe, or assessment. "Good evening, Mr. Russo," she said, proud her voice stayed level. "Your usual table? Please." She led them through the dining room, aware of eyes following Adrian's passage. People knew him here, feared him, or respected him, or both. She seated him in the corner booth, private and positioned to see the entire room. "Your server will be right with you." Adrian nodded dismissal. Lena turned to leave. "Miss Carter," she stopped. "Yes? How is Noah settling in?" The question caught her off guard. "Fine. Good. The apartment is... Thank you. If he needs anything, tell Margaret." Adrian's attention had already shifted to the menu. "That applies to you as well." Lena fled back to the hostess stand, heart hammering for reasons she couldn't name. The night blurred into a rhythm of greeting and seating, smiling until her face hurt, ignoring the way certain men looked at her like she was on the menu. Adrian stayed in his corner booth for 2 hours, conducting quiet conversations with the men who sat across from him. Lena couldn't hear words, but she caught tones. Negotiation, threat, agreement. At 10:15, Adrian stood. His security team materialized from somewhere. He moved toward the exit, paused at her station. "You did well tonight. I seated people. Not exactly complicated." His mouth curved slightly. "You'd be surprised how many people managed to make it complicated." He produced another card from his suit jacket. "My direct line. If Derek contacts you, calls, texts, shows up anywhere, you call me immediately. Understood?" Lena took the card. "I can't be calling you every time I get scared." "Yes," Adrian said quietly. "You can." He left before she could respond. Sarah appeared at her elbow. "What was that about?" "Nothing. Just checking I knew what I was doing." "Adrian doesn't check on hostesses, ever." Sarah's eyes narrowed with speculation. "Did you know him before?" "No." The lie came easily. Lena was good at lying now. Had to be. The restaurant closed at 11. Cleanup took another hour. The driver picked her up at 12:15, deposited her back at the apartment building at 12:40. The halls were silent, other units dark. Inside her new home, Margaret sat reading on the couch. "How's Noah?" Lena asked. "Perfect angel. Did homework, drew for a while, went to bed at 9 without protest." Margaret stood, gathering her things. "He's a sweet boy. He doesn't talk." "I noticed. Trauma?" Lena nodded. "Give him time and space. Healing isn't linear." Margaret paused at the door. "You did good tonight, by the way. I heard. How did you..." Mr. Russo called. He checks on his people. After Margaret left, Lena stood in the kitchen, processing. Adrian had called to check she was okay. Had asked about Noah. Had given her a direct line. None of it fit the image of a ruthless crime boss who saw people as assets. She checked Noah's room. He was asleep, rabbit tucked under one arm, breathing deep and even. Safe. In her own room, Lena changed into pajamas and collapsed onto a bed more comfortable than anything she'd slept on in years. Her body ached. Her throat was still bruised. But for the first time in 4 months, the knot of constant terror in her chest had loosened. Maybe this would work. Maybe Adrian Russo actually meant what he said about protection. Maybe she could stop running. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. Saw you tonight. New job? Nice place. Won't save you. The terror came roaring back. Lena grabbed Adrian's card with shaking hands, dialed the number. He answered immediately. What happened? Derek. He knows where I work. He saw me. Her voice cracked. He sent, forward me the message. I'm handling this. What does that mean? Adrian, what are you going to... It means you and Noah will be safe. I gave you my word. His voice carried absolute certainty. Go to sleep, Lena. I'll take care of it. How? But he'd already hung up. Lena forwarded the message, then sat on her bed, staring at her phone, waiting for it to buzz again with threats or worse. Waiting for the fear to drag her back under. It didn't. The phone stayed silent. At 2:47 a.m., exhaustion finally won. Lena fell asleep fully dressed, lights still on, Adrian's card clutched in one hand like a talisman against the darkness. She didn't know that across the city, Derek Vaughn was being dragged from his apartment by men who moved like shadows and didn't bother with explanations. Didn't know Adrian Russo sat in a warehouse office, watching through one-way glass while Derek screamed apologies and promises and pleas that meant nothing at all. Didn't know that by sunrise, Derek would be on a bus to a city 3 states away with a new identity, a low-level job, and a bank account containing exactly enough money to survive, along with very clear instructions that returning to this city, contacting Lena Carter, or even thinking Noah's name would result in consequences that made tonight's conversation seem gentle. Lena didn't know any of that. She just knew that when she finally woke at 7:23 a.m., to morning light streaming through clean windows, her phone contained one message from Adrian. Situation handled. He won't bother you again. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, Lena actually believed someone when they promised to keep her safe. 3 weeks passed before Lena understood what Adrian Russo actually was. Not the crime boss part, that was obvious from day one. But the other thing, the broken thing hiding beneath tailored suits and quiet commands. The part of him that watched Noah draw at the corner table of Marcello's during slow afternoons and looked like he was seeing a ghost. It started small. Adrian began appearing at the restaurant earlier than usual, always when Noah was there. Lena had started bringing him after school. Margaret watched him at the apartment, but the boy drew better with background noise, with people moving around him. He'd set up his colored pencils at table 12, the one tucked behind a support beam where nobody bothered him, and draw for hours. Buildings on fire. Cars twisted into metal sculptures. Stick figures with scribbled-out faces. His therapist said it was healthy. Processing. Lena wasn't convinced anything about those pictures was healthy, but she wasn't a professional, so she kept her mouth shut and let him draw. Adrian noticed. The first time he'd walked past Noah's table, stopped, stared at a particularly vivid sketch of flames consuming a vehicle. Something had shifted in his expression, gone flat and distant, like he'd left his body entirely. That's very good, he'd said quietly. Noah hadn't looked up, hadn't acknowledged the compliment, just kept drawing. Adrian had stood there another 30 seconds, then walked away without ordering his usual scotch. The second time, he'd actually sat down. Didn't ask permission, just pulled out the chair across from Noah and watched him work. Lena had been setting tables nearby, close enough to intervene if needed, but Noah didn't flinch, didn't stop drawing. The silence between them stretched comfortable and strange. You like fire, Adrian said finally. Noah's hand paused, then kept moving. Or you're afraid of it, hard to tell which. The colored pencil, red, pressed harder against paper. I was afraid of fire when I was your age, Adrian continued, voice so low Lena had to strain to hear. Terrified. Couldn't even light birthday candles without shaking. Noah's hand stopped completely. Want to know why? The boy's shoulders tensed. Then, slowly, he nodded. Lena's breath caught. Noah hadn't responded to anyone in months, not even her. Adrian leaned forward slightly. Because I watched my father burn to death when I was 7 years old. The words hung in the air like smoke. Car bomb, Adrian said. Meant for someone else. Wrong place, wrong time. I was supposed to be in that car with him, but I'd forgotten my backpack, ran back inside to get it. Came out just in time to see the explosion. Noah finally looked up. Dark eyes met darker ones. I didn't speak for a year after that, Adrian said. Not one word. Therapists, doctors, specialists, nobody could make me talk. I was just gone. Locked inside my own head where it was safer. Lena's chest constricted. She shouldn't be hearing this. This wasn't meant for her. What brought you back? The question came from Sarah, who'd materialized beside Lena, watching the scene with undisguised fascination. But Adrian wasn't talking to them. Was talking only to Noah. Time, he said, and someone who didn't push, who just waited until I was ready. He stood, straightened his jacket. You'll talk again when you're ready. Until then, keep drawing. It helps. He'd walked away without looking at Lena, without acknowledging he'd just cracked himself open in the middle of a restaurant. Noah had gone back to his sketch, but something had changed. The lines came easier, less jagged. That night after closing, Sarah cornered Lena by the hostess stand. What the hell was that? I don't know. Adrian doesn't talk about his father, ever. I've worked here 6 years. Nobody even knows how he died. There are rumors, but... Sarah studied Lena too closely. What's going on between you two? Nothing. Lena. He helped me out of a bad situation. That's all. Adrian doesn't help people. He uses them or destroys them. That's how he operates. Sarah's voice dropped. Whatever you think this is, whatever he's told you, be careful. Men like him don't change. They just get better at hiding what they are. Lena wanted to argue. Couldn't. Because Sarah was probably right. But that didn't explain why Adrian kept showing up early. Why he brought Noah art supplies, expensive ones, professional grade, and left them at table 12 without explanation. Why he'd had Margaret enroll Noah in a private school that specialized in trauma recovery, covering the tuition without asking Lena's permission. I'm handling it, Lena said. Sarah didn't look convinced. Sure you are. The next shift, Adrian arrived at 4 instead of 8. The restaurant was barely open, just Tony in the kitchen prepping for dinner service. Noah sat at his usual table, working on a new drawing, less fire this time, more buildings. Adrian stopped at the hostess stand. May I? Lena glanced at Noah. He doesn't mind you. I'm asking you. The distinction mattered somehow. Lena nodded. Adrian crossed to Noah's table, but this time he carried something, a large flat case. He set it down carefully, opened it. Oil pastels, at least 100 colors arranged in perfect rows. Noah's eyes went wide. For blending, Adrian said. Colored pencils are good for detail, but sometimes you need something that moves differently. May I show you? Noah nodded. For the next 20 minutes, Lena watched Adrian Russo, billionaire, crime lord, the man the city feared, teach an 8-year-old boy how to layer colors until they sang. His hands moved with surprising gentleness, guiding Noah's smaller fingers, showing him how to smudge edges, how to build depth. Tony emerged from the kitchen, stopped dead. Is that... Don't, Lena said quietly. They watched together. Never seen him like that, Tony muttered. 15 years I've known Adrian. Never seen him soft. He's not soft. No, but he's something different with that kid. Tony's eyes narrowed. Your boy? Nephew. Where are his parents? Dead. Shit. Tony was quiet a moment. Adrian lost his whole family young. Parents, sister. That's how he ended up running the business before he was 25. Nobody left to do it. He headed back to the kitchen, paused. Be careful, Lena. Adrian doesn't let people in. When he does, it's because he needs something. Figure out what that is before you're in too deep. But Lena suspected she was already in too deep. Because that night, when Margaret came to collect Noah from the restaurant, Adrian had asked a question that changed everything. Would Noah like to see the estate? The grounds have gardens, koi pond, plenty of space to run. He doesn't run, Lena said automatically. Hasn't since the accident. Still, the offer stands. Tomorrow afternoon if you're both free. Lena should have said no. Should have maintained distance between her son and this dangerous man. Instead, she heard herself say, "We're free." Adrian's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes lightened. I'll send a car at 2. The estate in daylight was somehow more intimidating than at night. Sprawling and pristine, every detail precisely controlled. The car dropped them at the main house, massive stone and glass structure that looked like it belonged in an architecture magazine. Adrian met them at the door, dressed casually for the first time since Lena had known him. Dark jeans, black sweater, no tie. He looked younger, more human. "Welcome," he said. Then to Noah, "Want to see the pond first?" Noah nodded eagerly, the most animation Lena had seen from him in weeks. They walked through manicured gardens, past sculptures and fountains, down a stone path that wound through trees. The koi pond sat in a clearing, large and peaceful, filled with orange and white fish the size of Lena's forearm. Noah dropped to his knees at the edge, watching the fish glide beneath lily pads. "You can feed them if you want," Adrian said. He produced a small container of food pellets. Just a pinch. Noah took the container carefully, sprinkled food across the water. The koi surged upward, mouths opening like flowers. The boy's face split into the first real smile Lena had seen since before his parents died. Something cracked open in her chest. "Thank you," she said quietly. Adrian shook his head. He needed this. Space to breathe, to be a child instead of a tragedy. "You've done too much already. The school, the art supplies, it's not enough." Adrian watched Noah with an intensity that felt almost painful. A child shouldn't carry that kind of grief alone. "He has me. You're drowning too. Don't pretend you're not." The words hit harder than they should have. Lena's throat tightened. "I'm managing." "You're surviving. There's a difference." Adrian finally looked at her. "When was the last time you did something for yourself? Slept through the night? Weren't afraid?" "I don't have the luxury." "You do now. That's the point." His voice gentled. "Let me help, Lena. Not because I want something from you. Because I understand what it's like to raise a child in the wreckage of trauma." "You don't have kids." "No, but I was one. And the people who helped me survive, who gave me space to be broken without rushing my healing, they saved my life." He turned back to Noah. "I'm just paying it forward." Lena didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to reconcile this version of Adrian with the man who'd made Derek disappear without blinking. They spent 2 hours at the estate. Noah explored every corner of the gardens, fed the fish 3 more times, discovered a greenhouse full of orchids that made him stop and stare. Adrian followed patiently, answering questions Noah couldn't ask with gestures and careful observation. When they finally headed back to the main house, Noah was actually running, darting between sculptures, laughing soundlessly at nothing except the joy of movement. "See?" Adrian said quietly. "He can still run." Inside, Adrian led them to a room off the main hall. "I wanted to show you something." The space was clearly a study, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, leather furniture, a massive desk positioned near windows overlooking the grounds. But what caught Lena's attention was the wall of photographs, family portraits, candid shots, a life documented in frozen moments. Adrian gestured to one photo, a dark-haired boy around Noah's age standing between a man and woman who were clearly his parents. The resemblance was striking, same sharp features, same serious eyes. "That's me. Week before my father died." Lena studied the image. The boy Adrian had been looked nothing like the man he'd become. That child still had softness in his face, hope. And this? Adrian indicated another photo. A teenage girl with wild curls and a brilliant smile. "My sister, Isabella. She was 17 when she died. Drug overdose. Couldn't handle the grief after our father, couldn't handle the pressure of the family business, couldn't handle me becoming what I had to become to keep us safe." "Adrian, I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm showing you this because you need to understand something." He turned to face her fully. "I know what it's like to watch a child suffer, to feel helpless, to make choices that destroy you because the alternative is worse. I know what it cost." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I see you, Lena. I see how hard you're fighting, how much you're sacrificing, and I'm saying you don't have to do it alone anymore." The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Noah appeared in the doorway, holding something, a small book. "Find something interesting?" Adrian asked. Noah brought it to him. A photo album, leather-bound and worn. Adrian's expression shifted. I haven't looked at this in years." He opened it carefully. Inside were more photos, older ones. A woman with kind eyes holding a baby. The same woman teaching a young boy to ride a bicycle. Family dinners, birthday parties. Ordinary moments that looked extraordinary through the lens of loss. Noah pointed to one photo. Adrian as a toddler, covered in paint, grinning at the camera. "I was 3, Adrian said. My mother let me paint the garage. Said creativity mattered more than clean walls." His voice went rough. "She died when I was 12. Heart attack, sudden. One day she was there, the next." He closed the album carefully, handed it back to Noah. "You can look at it if you want. Sometimes it helps to see that other people survived grief, that they came out the other side." Noah clutched the album and nodded. That night, back at the apartment, Noah actually drew something new. Not fire, not wreckage. A koi pond with a boy feeding fish. Progress. But progress came with complications. The next week, everything shifted. Lena arrived for her shift at Marcello's to find Tony in the dining room instead of the kitchen, having a heated conversation with Adrian. Both men's voices were low, but their body language screamed conflict. "Can't keep doing this," Tony was saying. "It's not professional, it's not safe, and people are starting to talk." "Let them talk." "Adrian, you're making yourself vulnerable. The family will notice." "The family doesn't dictate my personal life." "The hell they don't. You're not some independent operator. You run the entire Eastern operation. Every decision you make affects hundreds of people. Getting attached to—" Tony spotted Lena. "Shut up immediately." Adrian's jaw tightened. "We're done here." "No, we're not. But fine. Have it your way. Just don't say I didn't warn you when this blows up in your face." Tony stormed back to the kitchen. Lena approached carefully. "Everything okay?" "Fine." Adrian's voice was clipped, professional. The warmth from the estate had vanished. "Where's Noah tonight?" "With Margaret. He had therapy." "How's that going?" "Slow. But he's trying." Adrian nodded, started to say something, stopped. Then, "I need to talk to you after your shift. It's important." Dread pooled in Lena's stomach. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Just, we need to discuss some things." He left before she could ask more questions. The shift dragged. Lena smiled at customers, seated tables, made polite conversation, all while her mind spun through possibilities. Was Adrian ending their arrangement? Had Derek come back? Was there some threat she didn't know about? At 11, after the last customer left and the servers finished cleaning, Adrian reappeared. "Walk with me." They went outside. The street was quiet. Restaurants closed, only a few cars passing. Adrian led her half a block to a small park, sat on a bench beneath a streetlight. Lena sat beside him, heart hammering. "You're scaring me." "That's not my intention." Adrian was quiet a moment, choosing words carefully. "How much do you know about my business?" "Enough. Real estate development, restaurants, other things you don't talk about. The other things are what matter. I run an organization, call it what you want, crime family, syndicate, empire. The specifics don't matter. What matters is that I have responsibilities, people who depend on me, territories to maintain, alliances to honor." "Okay." And in that world, perception is everything. Weakness gets exploited. Attachments become targets. Lena's blood went cold. "You're ending this. The job. The apartment." "No. I'm trying to explain why I should, and why I'm not going to." She stared at him. Adrian turned to face her. "Tony's right. I'm making myself vulnerable. Every minute I spend with you and Noah is a minute my enemies can use against me. Every person who sees me with you understands I care, and in my world, caring is dangerous." "Then why so—" "Because I'm tired, Lena." The admission came out raw. "Tired of living like I'm already dead. Tired of building an empire that means nothing because there's nobody in it worth protecting. Tired of going home to that enormous house and hearing nothing but silence." His hand found hers on the bench. His fingers were warm, steady. "Noah reminds me what I was before everything broke. And you—" He paused. "You make me remember what it feels like to want something that isn't power or revenge or control." Lena's throat closed. "Adrian, I'm not asking you for anything. I'm just telling you the truth. That somewhere between pulling you out of that alley and watching Noah smile at those fish, something changed. And I don't know how to go back. She should pull away. should maintain professional distance, should remember that this man was dangerous, that his world ate people alive, that getting close to him put her and Noah in more danger than Derek ever could. Instead, she squeezed his hand. I don't want to go back either. The words came out before she could stop them. Adrian's eyes searched hers. You understand what you're saying, what it means. I think so. No, you don't. His voice went hard. My enemies will see you as leverage. They'll come after you to get to me. They'll hurt Noah to make me comply. That's how this works. That's the price of being close to me. You've kept us safe so far. Derek was an amateur. The people I deal with are professionals. They don't make threats. They act. And when they do, it's brutal and efficient and permanent. Fear spiked through her, but beneath it was something stronger, something that felt uncomfortably like certainty. Then keep us safer, Lena said quietly. You're good at that. Adrian laughed. The sound was bitter. You have too much faith in me. Maybe. Or maybe you don't have enough faith in yourself. She shifted to face him fully. You saved my life. You gave Noah a reason to smile again. You've done nothing but protect us since the moment we met. Why is it so hard to believe you could keep doing that? Because eventually I'll fail. Everyone I've ever cared about died or left or destroyed themselves. My father, my mother, Isabella. Every person I've tried to protect ended up dead or broken. I'm not them. You could be, but I'm not. Lena's voice firmed. And Noah isn't either. We're here. We're alive. We're choosing this with our eyes open. Are you? Adrian's hand tightened on hers. Because once you're in my world, there's no easy way out. The people I protect stay protected, but they also stay close. Monitored, guarded. You'd lose freedom. I'd lose the freedom to be hunted? To work myself sick? To watch Noah suffer alone? That's not freedom, Adrian. That's just a slower death. Something shifted in his expression. Softened. You're sure? I'm terrified, Lena admitted. But I'm sure. For a long moment, neither spoke. Cars passed. Wind rustled trees. The city breathed around them. Then Adrian stood, pulled her up with him. If we're doing this, if you're really choosing to stay in my life, then things change. No more apartment building. You and Noah move into the main house. That's not necessary. Yes, it is. The apartment is exposed. Too many access points. The main house has security I trust. Guards, systems, protocols. Adrian, we can't just move into your home. You can. You will. His voice carried that tone of absolute authority. I have 12 bedrooms. You'll each have your own suite, privacy, space, but you'll be where I can protect you properly. Lena's head spun. This is crazy. This is reality. If you're in my life, you're in my protection. Completely. No half measures. What about Noah? He just started settling into the apartment. He'll adjust. Children are resilient. You know that. Adrian's expression softened slightly. And honestly, I think he'd like having the gardens, the pond, room to breathe. He wasn't wrong, but still. When? Tomorrow. I'll have everything arranged. That fast? When I make a decision, I commit completely. You know that about me by now. Lena did know that. It was part of what made him terrifying and magnetic in equal measure. Okay, she heard herself say. We'll move in. Adrian's shoulders relaxed fractionally, like he'd been braced for refusal. There's something else, he said. Of course there was. I'm hiring additional security for Noah, personal detail, someone who stays with him at school, during therapy, everywhere. He'll hate that. He'll adjust. Non-negotiable, Lena. If you're in my life, he gets protected properly. She wanted to argue, couldn't find solid ground, because Adrian was right. If they were doing this, they had to do it correctly. Fine, but he gets input on who. If the guard makes him uncomfortable, then we find someone else. Agreed. Adrian checked his watch. It's late. I'll have the car take you home. Tomorrow at noon, movers will handle everything. You're not even going to ask what I think about all this? I just did. You said yes. I said yes to staying in your life, not to being managed like a project. Adrian's mouth curved slightly. You want autonomy? Keep it. Make your own decisions about work, friends, how you spend your time. But security isn't negotiable. Neither is location. Those are the boundaries. Boundaries. Right. Lena shook her head. You're impossible. I'm careful. There's a difference. The car appeared at the curb, perfectly timed, like everything in Adrian's world. He walked her to it, opened the door himself. Lena, she paused. I meant what I said earlier, about caring, about being tired. His voice dropped. You and Noah, you're not a project, you're… He didn't finish, didn't need to. Lena understood anyway. The next day blurred into controlled chaos. Movers packed the apartment with the same military efficiency as before. Margaret appeared with floor plans of the main house, showed Lena 2 adjoining suites on the second floor, one for her, one for Noah, connected by a shared sitting room. The spaces were beautiful, elegant without being cold. Noah's room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the gardens, a built-in desk for drawing, shelves already stocked with art supplies. Mr. Russo wanted Noah to feel at home immediately, Margaret explained. Noah explored his new room slowly, touching everything like it might disappear. When he found the closet already filled with new clothes in exactly his size, he turned to Lena with wide eyes. It's okay, she said. This is real. We're staying. He nodded. Then carefully, he unpacked his rabbit, set it on the bed. Acceptance. That night, Adrian joined them for dinner in the main dining room, a space large enough to seat 20 but set for just 3. The meal was simple. Pasta, salad, garlic bread, nothing fancy. Noah ate quietly, stealing glances at Adrian when he thought nobody was looking. How's the room? Adrian asked. Noah gave a thumbs up. Good. If you want anything changed, paint color, furniture, whatever, just tell Margaret. This is your home now. You should like it. Your home. The word settled between them like a promise. After dinner, Adrian showed them the rest of the house. Library, home theater, indoor pool. A gym Noah completely ignored. But when they reached the art studio on the 3rd floor, a massive space with natural light and every supply imaginable, the boy actually gasped. I don't use it, Adrian said. It was my sister's. She was an artist, incredible talent. But after she died, he trailed off. Nobody's touched it in 15 years. It's yours now if you want it. Noah looked at Lena. She nodded. The boy walked into the studio like entering sacred space, ran his hands over easels, open drawers full of brushes and paints and canvas. His face transformed into something Lena hadn't seen since before the accident. Pure joy. Thank you, she whispered to Adrian. He deserves it. They stood together watching Noah explore, and for a moment Lena let herself imagine this was normal, that they were a family instead of a broken woman, a traumatized child, and a crime boss playing house. Then Adrian's phone buzzed. He checked it. His expression went cold. I need to take this. Marcus will show you back to your rooms. One of the security guards materialized from nowhere. Adrian disappeared down the hall, already talking in low, clipped tones. Marcus, late 30s, built like a wall, smiled apologetically. Mr. Russo's schedule is demanding. He tries to be present when he can. It's fine. We understand. But as Marcus led them through the mansion's corridors, Lena caught glimpses of Adrian's other life. Guards stationed at every entrance. Security monitors showing camera feeds from the grounds. The faint sound of raised voices from behind a closed door. This wasn't a home. It was a fortress. And they'd just moved into the center of it. That night, lying in a bed more comfortable than anything she'd ever owned, staring at ceiling moldings that probably cost more than her car, Lena finally let herself feel the full weight of what she'd agreed to. She'd put herself and Noah directly in the crosshairs of whatever war Adrian was fighting, and she had no idea if they'd survive it. Her phone buzzed. Text from Adrian. Sleep well. Guards are positioned outside both your rooms. You're safe. Another text came immediately after. And Lena? Thank you. For trusting me, for staying. It means more than I know how to say. She stared at the messages for a long time before responding. Don't make me regret it. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I'll do everything in my power to make sure you don't. Lena set her phone aside and closed her eyes. In the room next to hers, Noah slept peacefully for the first time in months, surrounded by luxury and protection and the promise of safety. She should feel grateful, relieved. Instead, she felt the countdown starting, because men like Adrian Russo didn't get happy endings, and people who loved them usually didn't either. But she'd made her choice. Now she just had to survive the consequences. 6 weeks of peace. That's all they got. 6 weeks of routine and stability. Noah attending his new school, slowly starting to heal. Lena working at the restaurant, learning to navigate the careful dance between staff, who knew what Adrian was, and those who just saw a generous boss. 6 weeks of family dinners in that enormous dining room. Of watching Adrian teach Noah to play chess. Of quiet evenings in the library while rain hammered the windows. 6 weeks before everything shattered. The call came at 3:47 a.m. Lena woke to pounding on her door, heart already racing. She grabbed her robe, yanked open the door to find Marcus, fully armed, expression grim. "What's wrong?" "Mr. Russo needs you in his office. Now." The walk through dark hallways felt eternal. Marcus led her to a part of the house she'd never entered, the business wing, where Adrian conducted the work he never discussed. Heavy doors, thick carpets that swallowed sound, the scent of cigar smoke and expensive whiskey. Adrian's office was massive, dark wood paneling, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the grounds, a desk that looked like a weapon. He stood behind it, still fully dressed despite the hour, phone pressed to his ear. When he saw Lena, he ended the call immediately. "Sit." She sat. Adrian poured 2 glasses of scotch, slid one across the desk. Lena didn't drink, just waited. "Derek Vaughn was released from supervised monitoring yesterday," Adrian said flatly. The words took a moment to penetrate. When they did, ice flooded Lena's veins. "What? How? You said—" "I said I handled it. I did. He was supposed to stay out of state for 2 years minimum, supervised, monitored, controlled." Adrian's knuckles whitened around his glass. "Someone with influence intervened, got him released early, gave him clearance to return to the city." "Who would do that?" "Someone who wants to hurt me." Adrian drained his scotch in one swallow. "Derek showing up, finding you, that wasn't random. He was pointed in your direction, used as a weapon." Lena's hand started shaking. "By who?" "Rival family, the Castellanos. They've been pushing into my territory for months. I've pushed back. Now they're escalating." "So what? Derek is what?" "A pawn." "Derek is a motivated amateur with a grudge and nothing to lose. The perfect tool." Adrian refilled his glass. "He was spotted in the city 6 hours ago. My people have been tracking him since. He went straight to your old apartment building. When he didn't find you there, he started asking questions." "Does he know about here?" "Not yet, but he will. It's only a matter of time." Lena stood, paced to the window. Outside, floodlights illuminated the grounds. Guards patrolled in pairs. This fortress that was supposed to keep them safe suddenly felt like a target. "What do we do?" "You and Noah leave. Tonight. I have a safe house on the coast. Fortified, isolated, defendable. You stay there until I end this." "End it how?" Adrian's silence was answer enough. "No." Lena turned to face him. "You're not killing him. He's a threat. He's also a human being. A broken, stupid, angry human being, but still a human being who tried to murder you in an alley, who terrorized you for months, who will absolutely try again now that he's been weaponized by people who know how to maximize damage. I don't care. I won't let you become a murderer because of me." "Lena." Adrian stood, moved around the desk. "I've been a murderer since I was 19 years old. That ship sailed a long time ago." The casual admission should have horrified her. Somehow it didn't. "How many?" she heard herself ask. "Does it matter?" "Yes." Adrian studied her. 11. That I pulled the trigger on personally. Dozens more that I ordered. Hundreds if you count indirect casualties of territory wars and enforcement actions. Lena absorbed this. "And you're okay with that?" "No. But I'm functional with it. There's a difference." He moved closer. "This is who I am, Lena. Who I've always been. I'm not asking your permission. I'm telling you what's going to happen. Derek Vaughn will be dealt with, permanently. The Castellanos will be sent a message they can't ignore, and you and Noah will be moved to a location where neither threat can touch you." "What if I refuse?" "You won't." "You're that sure?" "Yes. Because you're smart enough to recognize when you're out of options, just like you were in that alley 6 weeks ago. The parallel wasn't lost on her. Lena sank back into the chair. How long? 2 weeks, maybe 3. Depends on how quickly the Castellanos respond to escalation. And if they don't back down, then this becomes a war. And wars in my world don't end until someone's empire burns to the ground. Lena's head dropped into her hands. This is insane. This is reality. My reality. The one you chose to enter. I didn't choose to drag Noah into a mob war. No, but you chose me. And me comes with complications. Adrian crouched in front of her, forcing eye contact. I will keep you both safe. I give you my word, but you have to trust me. Completely. Can you do that? Lena wanted to say no, wanted to grab Noah and run as far as possible from this world of violence and blood and casual murder. But she'd been running for months before Adrian found her, and running hadn't saved her. When do we leave? She whispered. 2 hours. Pack light. Everything you need will be provided. What about Noah's school? His therapy? Handled. His therapist will conduct sessions remotely. School assignments will be sent digitally. Adrian stood, returned to his desk. Marcus will be your primary security. 2 additional guards will rotate shifts. The property is equipped with everything you might need: food, medical supplies, communication equipment. You'll be comfortable. Comfortable. The word tasted like ash. We'll be prisoners. You'll be alive. That's what matters. A knock interrupted them. Tony entered without waiting for permission, face grim. We've got movement. 3 vehicles, heavy presence, heading up the coast road. Adrian's expression went flat. Castellanos? Either them or Derek getting bold. Either way, we need to move now. Everything accelerated. Marcus appeared with 2 guards. They escorted Lena back to her room where Margaret was already packing bags with frightening efficiency. Where's Noah? Lena demanded. Already downstairs. Adrian's with him. Lena ran. She found them in the garage, a massive space filled with vehicles ranging from practical SUVs to sports cars that probably cost 6 figures. Noah stood beside Adrian, looking small and scared, but not panicking. Mom? The word was barely a whisper. Lena's heart stopped. He'd spoken. For the first time since the accident, Noah had actually spoken. She dropped to her knees, pulled him close. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. Scared, Noah whispered into her shoulder. I know, me too, but we're going somewhere safe with Adrian. He's going to protect us. Noah pulled back, looked at Adrian with those 2 old eyes. Promise? Adrian crouched to his level. I promise. Nobody will hurt you, not while I'm alive. The boy studied him with heartbreaking seriousness, then nodded. Vehicles ready, Marcus called. They loaded into an armored SUV, bulletproof glass, reinforced doors, enough security features to withstand a small army. Marcus drove. Another guard rode shotgun. Adrian sat in back between Lena and Noah. As they pulled out of the garage, Lena caught glimpses of the estate transforming. More guards materializing from nowhere, lights going on throughout the house. Vehicles moving into defensive positions, preparing for war. The drive took 90 minutes, winding up the coast on roads that grew increasingly isolated. Dawn was breaking when they finally arrived. A modern house built into seaside cliffs, all glass and steel, positioned to see threats coming from any direction. Beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. This is the safe house? Lena asked. One of them. Adrian helped Noah out of the vehicle. 6 bedrooms, fully stocked, secure perimeter, direct line to my security team. Anything happens, you call Marcus immediately. Inside was sleek and comfortable. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean, an open kitchen, living spaces designed for both luxury and function. Noah gravitated immediately to the windows, pressed his face against glass. Water, he whispered. First full word in months. Adrian joined him. You like the ocean? Noah nodded. We'll go down to the beach later, if that's okay with your mom. Both turned to Lena. She nodded, throat too tight for words. Marcus and his team did a security sweep, checked every room, every window, every possible entry point, activated alarm systems, positioned weapons in strategic locations that made Lena's skin crawl. This wasn't a vacation house. It was a bunker disguised as paradise. Adrian stayed for an hour, showed them the security features, made sure they understood the protocols, sat with Noah and explained in child-appropriate terms that sometimes adults had disagreements that required taking precautions. Then it was time for him to leave. Lena walked him to the door while Marcus distracted Noah with something in the kitchen. "How long before we see you again?" she asked. "I don't know. Depends how quickly this escalates." "Adrian, don't ask me not to do this. We're past that point." "I wasn't going to." She took his hand. "I was going to say be careful and come back. Because..." The word stuck. "Because what?" Lena forced herself to meet his eyes. "Because somewhere between that alley and now, I stopped seeing you as the man who saved my life and started seeing you as something else." "What else?" "Someone I don't want to lose." Adrian's control cracked, just for a second, long enough for her to see real emotion beneath the ice. Then he pulled her close, kissed her forehead. "I'll come back. That's a promise." "Don't make promises you can't keep." "I don't." He stepped back, armored himself again in cold control. "Keep Noah close. Don't go outside without Marcus. Trust no one except my people. Understand?" "Yes." "And Lena? If something happens, if worst comes to worst, there's an envelope in the master bedroom safe. Code is Noah's birthday. Inside are instructions, accounts, contacts, everything you'd need to disappear and stay safe." Horror flooded through her. "Adrian, just a precaution. Probably won't need it, but if you do, it's there." He left before she could respond. Lena stood at the window watching the SUV disappear down the cliff road. Behind her, Noah was drawing at the kitchen table. Fierce, jagged lines that probably represented the chaos he couldn't articulate. Marcus appeared at her elbow. "He'll be fine. Adrian survived worse." "Has he?" "Trust me, the man's a survivor." But as Lena watched the road empty out, she remembered Adrian's face when he talked about his sister, his parents, everyone he'd failed to save. And she wondered if surviving was the same as living, or if Adrian Russo had been dead inside for years, just too stubborn to stop moving. Either way, they were trapped now, in this beautiful cage on the edge of the world, waiting for violence to find them, because it always did. That night, while Noah slept in one of the bedrooms with Marcus stationed outside his door, Lena found the safe, punched in Noah's birthday with shaking hands. Inside was exactly what Adrian promised. Documents, account numbers, contacts, passports, hers and Noah's, brand new, with different names. Escape plan for when everything fell apart. She closed the safe without taking anything, because despite everything, despite the danger, the violence, the terrifying reality of Adrian's world, Lena realized she didn't want to run anymore. She wanted to fight. And when Adrian came back, if he came back, she was going to tell him exactly that. But first, he had to survive. And in Adrian Russo's world, survival was never guaranteed, only earned, through blood. 4 days in the safe house before Lena realized she'd made a catastrophic mistake trusting Adrian Russo. 4 days of forced calm while Noah drew obsessively at the windows overlooking cliffs that dropped into churning ocean. 4 days of Marcus and his rotation of silent guards patrolling the perimeter like they expected invasion at any moment. 4 days of Adrian's promised phone calls coming exactly on schedule, morning and night, his voice controlled and distant, reporting nothing except that he was handling the situation. 4 days before everything shattered. It started with Noah. The boy had been sleeping better since arriving at the coast house. Something about the sound of waves crashing against rocks soothed him in ways therapy never had. But on the 4th night, Lena woke to screaming. She ran to his room, found him thrashing in tangled sheets, words pouring out in a flood that made no sense. "Fire! The car! Dad said, wait! Mom was screaming! They locked the doors! They locked them!" Lena grabbed his shoulders. "Noah, baby, you're safe. It's just a dream." His eyes snapped open, wild, unseeing. "Not a dream, not a dream. They locked the doors from outside. Dad tried to get out, but the locks... Someone locked them." Ice crawled up Lena's spine. "What are you talking about?" Noah's breathing came in ragged gasps. Sweat soaked his pajamas. "The accident wasn't an accident. Someone locked the car doors, remote lock. Dad was screaming that the doors wouldn't open. Mom was..." He broke off, started sobbing. Lena pulled him close, her mind spinning. The accident report had been straightforward. Vehicle struck barrier, caught fire, doors jammed from impact. Tragic. Random. Nobody's fault except bad luck and a patch of black ice. But Noah was saying the doors had been locked deliberately. Marcus appeared in the doorway, weapon drawn. "Everything okay?" "Nightmare," Lena said automatically, but her voice sounded hollow even to her own ears. Marcus didn't move. "Need anything?" "No, we're fine." He left, but something about his expression bothered her, like he'd heard Noah's words and wasn't surprised. Lena stayed with Noah until he fell back asleep, then went to her own room and did something she'd been avoiding since arriving at the safe house. She called her sister's best friend. Rachel Chen, the woman who'd helped investigate the accident because the police report had felt incomplete. Rachel answered on the third ring, voice thick with sleep. "Lena? It's 5 in the morning. I need to know something about Sarah's accident." Silence. Then, "We went over this already. The investigation, was the remote lock system checked? Could someone have triggered it externally?" More silence. Longer this time. "Rachel, tell me." "There were irregularities. The lock mechanism showed signs of electronic interference, but the detective handling the case said it was damage from the fire. Closed the investigation." "What detective?" "Bennett. Michael Bennett." "And you believed him?" "I didn't have a choice. He had jurisdiction. And when I pushed for more testing, he shut me down. Said I was seeing conspiracy where there was just tragedy." Lena's hands started shaking. "Did you ever find out who might have wanted Sarah dead? Why are you asking this now, after 6 months?" "Because Noah just woke up screaming that someone locked the doors from outside, and I need to know if my sister was murdered." Rachel's sharp intake of breath confirmed what Lena already suspected. "I couldn't prove anything," Rachel said carefully, "but Sarah called me 2 days before she died. Said she'd discovered something at work, something about shell companies and money laundering. She worked in accounting for Castellano Properties. Did you know that?" The name hit like a bullet. Castellano. The same family Adrian said was targeting him. "No," Lena whispered. She never mentioned her employer. She was scared, Lena. Said if anything happened to her, someone needed to look into her boss. Vincent Castellano. But after the accident, I checked. Castellano Properties had scrubbed every record of her employment, like she'd never existed. Lena's vision tunneled. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because Detective Bennett made it very clear that pursuing this investigation would be dangerous for everyone involved. And you had Noah to worry about. I thought..." Rachel's voice cracked. "I thought keeping you safe was more important than revenge." "Who was Bennett working for?" "I don't know. But when I tried to access the case file 6 months later, it had been sealed, classified, above my clearance level." Lena ended the call with numb fingers. Sarah hadn't died in a random accident. She'd been murdered because she discovered something about the Castellanos. And Noah had witnessed it. The pieces started falling together with sickening clarity. Derek showing up at exactly the right moment to make Lena vulnerable. Adrian appearing in that alley like he'd been waiting. The too convenient job offer. The apartment. The protection. Adrian had known. He'd known about Sarah's murder from the beginning. The Castellanos had killed her sister, and Adrian, who claimed to be at war with that family, had swooped in to collect the collateral damage. But why? Lena grabbed her phone, dialed Adrian's number with shaking hands. He answered immediately. "What's wrong?" "You lied to me." Pause. "About what?" "Everything. Sarah's death. The Castellanos. Why you really helped me." Another pause. Longer. When Adrian spoke again, his voice had gone completely flat. "Where did you hear that name?" "It doesn't matter. Tell me the truth. Did you know my sister was murdered?" "Lena, did you know?" "Yes." The admission hit harder than a fist. Lena sat down hard on the edge of the bed, trying to breathe through sudden nausea. "How long?" "I knew about Sarah's investigation into Castellano Properties before she died. I'd been building a case against Vincent for months. She was a potential witness." "You were using her." "I was trying to protect her. I sent warnings through back channels, told her to stop digging, to walk away. She wouldn't listen. So the Castellanos killed her? Yes. And you found out? Not until after. By then it was too late. Lena's voice came out dead. When did you connect me to her? Silence. Adrian. When? The night in the alley. I saw your ID when you dropped your bag, made the connection immediately. The world tilted sideways. So everything, the job, the apartment, all of it, was about Sarah. No, it was about keeping you and Noah safe from the same people who killed your sister. Bullshit. You needed leverage against the Castellanos. We were it. That's not... Stop lying! The scream tore out of her. You've been lying since the moment we met, using us, manipulating us, pretending to care when really we're just weapons in your war. I do care. Adrian's voice fractured. That's not a lie. How would I even know? How would I know what's real and what's just you playing chess with people's lives? Because if I wanted weapons, I would have used you differently. I would have dangled you as bait, drawn the Castellanos out, ended this months ago. Instead, I've kept you hidden, protected, safe. You've kept us trapped. There's a difference. Lena, please. Did Derek really find me by accident, or did you arrange that too? The pause told her everything. Oh my God, she breathed. You set it up, the whole thing. I didn't set up the attack, but I may have made sure Derek knew where you were working and that I'd be nearby when he showed. Lena couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The walls of the beautiful prison Adrian had built were closing in. Why? Because you needed protection and wouldn't have accepted it from a stranger. You needed a reason to trust me. So you manufactured one. You let that animal put his hands on me, let him nearly kill me, just so you could play hero. I never let him touch you. I was there the entire time, watching, waiting. The second he made a move, I intervened. You should have intervened before he got his hands around my throat. If I had, you would have run. You would have refused help. This way you got exactly what you wanted. A traumatized woman and child dependent on you for survival. Perfect little hostages. You're not hostages. Then let us leave. Silence. That's what I thought. Lena stood, pacing the room like a caged animal. We're prisoners. We've been prisoners from the beginning. You just made the cage pretty enough we didn't notice. The Castellanos want you dead, Adrian said quietly. Both of you. Because Noah witnessed his parents' murder and you're connected to their investigation. If you leave my protection, you won't survive a week. Maybe I'd rather take my chances than stay with someone who's been lying to me for months. Don't be stupid. Don't tell me what to be. You've lost that right. A knock on her door interrupted the argument. Marcus, looking tense. Problem. You need to see this. Lena ended the call without saying goodbye. Marcus led her downstairs to the security room, a space she'd been forbidden from entering until now. Monitors lined one wall, showing camera feeds from every angle of the property. On the center screen, a vehicle sat at the end of the access road. Expensive sedan, dark windows, engine running. How long? Lena asked. Appeared 20 minutes ago. Haven't moved, haven't approached. Just sitting there. Castellanos? Maybe. Or could be Adrian's people checking perimeter. Hard to tell. As they watched, the driver's door opened. Derek Vaughn stepped out. Lena's breath stopped. He looked different, harder, more focused. He walked toward the house with purpose, hands visible and empty. When he got close enough for the cameras to catch his face clearly, he looked directly at one and smiled. Then he held up a phone. On the screen, visible even through the security feed, was a photo of Noah at his new school, taken yesterday. Get away from the windows, Marcus barked. Now! He grabbed Lena, pulled her into the interior hallway. Other guards materialized from nowhere, weapons drawn, moving into defensive positions. Lena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. Hello, Lena. Derek's voice, casual as if they were old friends. Miss me? How did you find us? Please. You think Adrian Russo is the only one with resources? The Castellanos have been watching this place since you arrived. They've been watching everything. What do you want? Same thing I've always wanted. My son back. He's not your son. Courts might disagree. Especially when I tell them how Adrian Russo kidnapped you both. How he's holding you in an illegal safe house. How he's using a child as leverage in a gang war. Lena's mouth went dry. Nobody would believe you. Vincent Castellano has judges, lawyers, politicians in his pocket. Trust me, they'll believe whatever he tells them to believe. Derek's voice hardened. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to bring Noah outside. You're going to get in this car. We're going to drive away. Nice and simple. And if I refuse, then Vincent's people breach that house, kill everyone inside, and take Noah anyway. But this way, you get to live. Mother's instinct and all that. Marcus was already on his phone, presumably calling Adrian. The other guards had taken positions at windows, ready for assault. I need time to think, Lena said. You have 5 minutes. Then we come in. Derek ended the call. Marcus grabbed her shoulder. Adrian's 10 minutes out. We can hold them that long. How many are out there? At least a dozen. Probably more in reserve. His expression was grim. We're outnumbered 3-1. And Noah? Panic room, 2nd floor. He'll be safe there even if they breach. Lena looked at the monitors. More vehicles had appeared, men with weapons taking positions around the property. This wasn't a kidnapping attempt. It was a siege. Her phone rang again. This time it was Adrian. Don't do anything stupid, he said immediately. I'm almost there. They want Noah. I know. Marcus briefed me. Listen to me carefully. Get to the panic room with Noah. Lock it down. Don't open it for anyone except me. Understand? Adrian, there are too many of them. Your guards can't. My guards are trained for exactly this situation. Trust them. Trust me. I don't trust you. Not anymore. Then trust that I'm the only thing standing between Noah and the people who murdered his parents. Adrian's voice went cold. Get to the panic room. Now. The line went dead. Lena ran upstairs, found Noah in his room drawing frantically, fire and cars and screaming figures. He looked up when she entered, eyes huge. They're coming for me, he whispered. How do you know? I remember now. All of it. The fire. The doors. The man standing outside watching us burn. He looked like... Noah's voice cracked. He looked like the man from the car outside. Derek? No, different man. Older, gray hair. He was smiling while we burned. Vincent Castellano. The realization hit like ice water. Vincent had personally overseen Sarah and her husband's murder, had watched them die. And Noah had seen his face. That's why they wanted the boy. Not for Derek's delusional custody claims. They wanted to erase the only witness to their crime. Downstairs, glass shattered. Gunfire erupted. The assault had begun. Marcus appeared, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. Panic room, move! He led them through a hidden door in the hallway. Downstairs, Lena had never noticed, into a reinforced room lined with supplies and communication equipment. The walls were concrete. The door was steel. A bank of monitors showed security feeds. On screen, chaos. Adrian's guards fighting desperately against overwhelming numbers. Bodies falling. Blood spreading across expensive floors. Marcus sealed the door behind them with a heavy metallic clunk. We're locked down. Nobody gets through that door without the code. How long can we last? 72 hours of supplies. But Adrian will end this long before then. On the monitors, the front entrance exploded inward. Men in tactical gear poured through, weapons firing. Adrian's guards fell back, fighting room by room. Then Adrian arrived. His convoy came in fast. 3 vehicles, heavily armored, disgorging men who moved with military precision. Adrian himself led the charge, weapon in hand, face carved from ice and fury. Lena watched him move through the house like death itself. Efficient, brutal. Every shot placed perfectly. Every movement calculated. This wasn't the man who taught Noah to play chess or sat through family dinners making awkward small talk. This was the killer he'd admitted to being, the monster wearing a human face, and he was terrifying. The battle raged for 15 minutes that felt like hours. Lena held Noah close, trying to shield him from the violence playing out on screens. But the boy watched anyway, absorbing everything with those 2 old eyes. He's saving us, Noah whispered. Yes. He kills people. Yes. Is that bad? Lena didn't know how to answer. In any sane world, yes. Murder was bad. Violence was wrong. But in this world, this nightmare they'd been dragged into, Adrian's capacity for violence was the only thing keeping them breathing. Sometimes, she said carefully, bad people only understand bad things, and someone has to speak their language. On screen, Adrian cornered 3 men in the kitchen. They surrendered. He shot them anyway. No hesitation, no mercy. Noah flinched but didn't look away. Finally, the gunfire stopped. Bodies littered the beautiful house. Blood soaked into expensive carpets. The acrid smell of gunpowder would have been everywhere if they could smell it through the panic room's filtered air. Adrian appeared on the monitor standing in the main hallway, covered in blood, phone pressed to his ear. His mouth moved, giving orders probably. Then he looked directly at the camera, spoke one word Lena could read from his lips. Safe. Marcus checked his own phone. All clear. He's coming down. The steel door unsealed with a hiss. Adrian descended the stairs slowly, deliberately. He'd removed his jacket. His white shirt was ruined with blood, some his, most not. A gash above his eyebrow dripped red down his face. Noah ran to him. The boy just ran straight into Adrian's arms like it was the most natural thing in the world. Adrian caught him, held him tight, buried his face in Noah's hair. You're okay, he breathed. You're both okay. You're bleeding, Noah said. Doesn't matter. You're safe. That's what matters. Lena stood frozen, watching this man she'd just accused of manipulation hold her nephew like he was the most precious thing in existence, blood-soaked and brutal, and somehow still capable of gentleness. Adrian's eyes found hers over Noah's head. We need to talk. Yes, we do. He released Noah reluctantly, sent him with Marcus to get cleaned up. Then he and Lena stood in the concrete room surrounded by monitors showing carnage, and everything that had been building between them finally broke open. I'm sorry, Adrian said, for lying, for manipulating the situation, for every choice I made that hurt you. But you'd do it again. Yes. No hesitation. Because the alternative was watching you and Noah die like Sarah did, and I couldn't. His voice cracked. I've failed to protect too many people. I couldn't fail you too. You should have told me the truth. You would have run, and running would have gotten you killed. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because I know exactly how the Castellanos operate. I know what they do to witnesses, to loose ends, to anyone who threatens their empire. Adrian moved closer. Sarah trusted the police, trusted the system. Look where that got her. So your solution was to lie? To play puppet master with our lives? My solution was to keep you breathing long enough to actually have a life. Everything else was secondary. Lena wanted to stay angry, wanted to hold on to righteous fury, but exhaustion was winning. And beneath the anger was a more complicated truth. Adrian had lied, had manipulated, had used them, but he'd also kept them alive. What happens now? She asked. Now I end this, permanently. Adrian's expression went cold. Vincent Castellano sent Derek here tonight. That was a declaration of war. So I'm taking the war to him. Meaning? Meaning by tomorrow morning the Castellano family will no longer exist. The casual way he said it made Lena's skin crawl. You're talking about mass murder. I'm talking about survival, theirs or mine. And I choose mine. He stepped closer. I'm done being defensive. Done letting them dictate terms. They killed your sister. They tried to kill you and Noah. They crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. And what about us? What happens to me and Noah while you're waging your war? You stay here, guards double. No one gets within a mile of this property. For how long? However long it takes. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. Adrian's control cracked slightly. I'm trying to keep you safe, Lena. That's all I've ever tried to do. By lying, by manipulating, by turning our lives into chess pieces. Yes, because the truth would have sent you running and manipulation kept you alive. If that makes me a monster, fine. I'll be a monster. As long as you and Noah survive. Lena studied this man she'd trusted, feared, maybe even started to love somewhere along the way. Blood-soaked and brutal and absolutely sincere. I want full truth from now on, she said. No more secrets. No more manipulation. You treat me like a partner, not a pawn. I can't promise that. Sometimes protecting you means keeping you in the dark. Then we're done. Because I won't be your puppet. Adrian's jaw tightened. You'd risk Noah's safety over principle? I'd risk everything over being treated like I have agency in my own life. They stared at each other, deadlocked. Finally, Adrian nodded. Full truth? From now on, even when it hurts. Swear it. I swear. Lena took a shaky breath. Okay, then tell me, is Noah really in danger, or is keeping us locked down here about control? He witnessed Vincent Castellano commit murder. As long as Vincent breathes, Noah's a target. Adrian's voice went flat. So Vincent stops breathing, tonight. You're really going to kill him? Yes. And anyone who gets in your way? Yes. How many people are we talking about? Vincent's immediate circle. 15, maybe 20, plus however many fight back. You're talking about slaughter. I'm talking about war. This is what war looks like in my world. Lena's stomach turned. And after? When they're all dead? We rebuild. Different power structure. New alliances. Stability. And us? Adrian met her eyes. That's your choice. You can stay or go. But either way, you'll be safe. I'll make sure of it. Even if I choose to leave. Even then, you'll have money, protection, new identities, whatever you need. And if I stay? Something shifted in Adrian's expression, softened. Then we figure out what this is, what we could be, without the lies. We? I told you weeks ago that you and Noah make my house feel less empty. That was true. Still is. He stepped closer. I'm in love with you, Lena. Have been since you called me at 3 a.m, terrified but still brave enough to fight. But I'll let you go if that's what you need. The confession hung between them, raw, honest, terrifying. Lena's breath caught. You can't just say that now, after everything. Why not? You wanted truth. That's the truth. It's not fair. None of this is fair, but it's real. Adrian's hand found hers, blood-stained and warm. I'm a monster. I accept that. But I'm a monster who loves you, and I'm asking, begging, for a chance to prove I can be more than the worst parts of myself. Lena wanted to pull away, wanted to maintain distance, wanted to protect herself from the inevitable heartbreak of loving a man who lived in blood. Instead, she squeezed his hand back. End this war. Come back alive. Then we'll talk. Adrian's eyes closed briefly. Relief or resignation? Deal. He started to leave. Lena stopped him. Adrian, when you go after Vincent, she forced herself to ask, will Derek be there? Probably. And? Adrian's expression went flat. He helped orchestrate tonight's attack. He's complicit in attempted murder of you and Noah. What do you think happens? Lena knew. She just needed to hear it. You'll kill him. Yes. She should feel something. Regret, horror, guilt. Instead, all she felt was cold satisfaction. Derek had put his hands on her, had terrorized her, had tried to steal Noah, had sided with her sister's murderers. Maybe she was becoming a monster too. Good, she heard herself say. Make it hurt. Adrian's mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Already planning on it. Then he was gone. Back up the stairs, back into the world of violence and blood that was his natural habitat. Lena stood in the panic room surrounded by screens showing bodies and destruction, wondering when she'd stopped being a victim and started being an accomplice. Wondering if there was even a difference anymore. Upstairs, Noah waited with Marcus. The boy looked small and scared and far too aware of what was happening. Is Adrian going to be okay? He asked. I don't know, baby. Will he come back? I hope so. Me too. Noah's voice dropped to a whisper. I think he's my dad now. Is that okay? Lena's heart cracked open. Yeah, baby, that's okay. Even though he kills people? Even though. Because in the end, what else could she say? The truth was too complicated, too dark, too steeped in moral ambiguity for an 8-year-old who'd already seen too much. So she lied, the way Adrian had lied to protect her, the way everyone in this world lied to survive. And as she held Noah close, watching the screens go dark one by one, Lena understood something fundamental. She wasn't getting out of this world. She was already part of it. And the only way forward was through more blood, more violence, more choices that would stain her soul. But if that's what it took to keep Noah safe, she'd walk through hell itself, the same way Adrian was doing right now, for them. Outside, engines roared to life. The war had begun, and there was no going back. 6 hours after Adrian left for war, the power went out. Lena was sitting with Noah in the fortified living room, trying to keep him distracted with drawing while Marcus and 2 other guards monitored security feeds when every light in the safe house died simultaneously. Emergency generators should have kicked in within seconds. They didn't. Marcus was on his feet immediately, weapon drawn. "Stay here. Don't move." He disappeared into the darkness with the other guards, leaving Lena and Noah alone in a room where the only light came from dying sunset through bulletproof windows. Noah's hand found hers. "Mom, I'm here, baby. It's okay." It wasn't okay. Lena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered with shaking hands. "Hello, Lena." The voice was cultured, smooth, nothing like Derek's rough edges. "My name is Vincent Castellano. I believe we have much to discuss." Ice flooded her veins. "How did you get this number?" "I own half the telecommunications infrastructure in this city. Getting phone numbers is the least of my capabilities." Vincent's tone remained pleasant, conversational. "I apologize for the dramatic entrance, the power outage, the security disruption, but I needed your undivided attention." "What do you want?" "The same thing I've wanted since your sister made the unfortunate decision to investigate my business practices. Closure, finality, the elimination of loose ends." Noah saw nothing. He was 8 years old. "Noah saw my face, watched me supervise his parents' execution. That makes him a witness, and witnesses, I'm afraid, cannot be tolerated." Vincent paused. "However, I'm a reasonable man. I'm prepared to offer you a deal." Lena pulled Noah closer. "What kind of deal?" "Adrian Russo is currently assaulting my primary estate with approximately 40 men. Quite ambitious, quite foolish. But he's tied up my security forces admirably, which gives me this brief window to address you directly." "I'm listening." "You have something I need. I have something you want. Simple exchange. You deliver Noah to me, peacefully, no fuss, and I let you live. Clean identity, offshore account, enough money to disappear and never resurface. You get to survive. Everyone wins. Except Noah." "Noah witnessed a crime. He's already dead, Lena. The only question is whether you die with him or walk away." Lena's mind raced. Where the hell was Marcus? Why hadn't he returned? "And if I refuse?" "Then my men breach this safe house. They're already inside, by the way, disabling Adrian's guards as we speak. Take Noah by force and kill you in the process. Much messier, much more traumatic for the boy. But the end result is the same." As if to punctuate his point, gunfire erupted somewhere in the house. Close. Too close. Noah flinched, pressed against Lena's side. "You have 2 minutes to decide," Vincent said calmly. "After that, my patience expires, and we do this the hard way." He ended the call. Lena looked at Noah in the dim light. His eyes were huge, terrified, but there was something else there too. A question. "What are we going to do?" he whispered. What were they going to do? Adrian was across the city fighting Vincent's army. Marcus was somewhere in the house, possibly dead. They were trapped in a fortress that had become a tomb. No backup, no rescue, no options. Except one. Lena stood, pulled Noah to his feet. "We run." "Where?" "Anywhere but here." She led him through the dark house, moving by memory and fading light, avoiding the sounds of combat echoing through hallways. Her heart hammered so hard she could taste it. Every shadow might hide an enemy. Every sound might be death approaching. They made it to the garage before someone stepped from the darkness. Marcus. Blood streaming from his shoulder, barely standing. "Don't!" he gasped. "Garage is compromised. They cut the—" A gunshot cut him off. Marcus dropped. Lena screamed, grabbed Noah, ran blindly in the opposite direction. Behind them, footsteps pursued. Heavy boots on marble floors, men shouting coordinates. She crashed through a door, found herself in the kitchen, locked it, shoved a chair under the handle, looked for another exit. The windows. All bulletproof, all sealed. They were trapped. The door shuddered as someone slammed against it from outside. The chair held. Barely. Lena's phone rang. Adrian. She answered, breathless. They're inside. Marcus is down. We're trapped in the kitchen and the wine cellar. Adrian's voice was harsh, urgent. Behind the refrigerator, false wall. Code is 0829, my mother's birthday. Get inside. Lock it. Don't come out until I come for you. Adrian, there's too many of them. I'm 10 minutes out. Just stay alive. Another impact on the door. The wood cracked. Lena shoved the refrigerator aside with strength born of pure terror. Found the hidden panel. Punched in the code with shaking fingers. The wall slid open, revealing stairs descending into darkness. Go, she told Noah. They plunged down just as the kitchen door splintered inward. Lena slammed the hidden panel shut, heard locks engage. Grabbed Noah's hand. Descended stairs in pitch black until they hit bottom. A wine cellar. Racks of bottles lining stone walls. A single dim emergency light casting everything in sickly yellow. And in the far corner, a steel door marked panic room. They'd made it to Adrian's final failsafe. Lena got them inside, sealed the door. This room was smaller than the first panic room, more cramped. Just emergency supplies and a single monitor showing security feeds. Most cameras were dead, but a few still functioned, showing Vincent's men moving through the safe house like a plague. At least a dozen. All armed, all professional. And in the kitchen they'd just escaped, a man Lena recognized from the photos Rachel had shown her months ago. Vincent Castellano himself. He was older than she'd expected. 60s maybe, silver hair perfectly styled, expensive suit somehow still pristine despite the violence. He examined the hidden panel, smiled slightly. Then he looked directly at the camera. Very resourceful, Lena, but you're only delaying the inevitable. His voice came through a speaker in the panic room. That door won't hold forever, and Adrian, Vincent checked his watch. Adrian is currently discovering that his assault on my estate was expected, planned for. Every man he brought is walking into a trap. He'll be dead within the hour. You're lying, Lena said to the screen. Am I? Let me show you. The monitor flickered. New feed appeared. Grainy footage from what looked like a warehouse. Adrian and his men pinned down by overwhelming fire, bodies already littering the floor. Adrian himself crouched behind cover, blood spreading across his side. Losing. See? Vincent's voice carried satisfaction. Your guardian angel is mortal after all, and once he falls, who do you think protects you? Noah whimpered. Lena pulled him close, mind racing through impossible options. The panic room had supplies for 3 days. But Vincent wouldn't wait 3 days. He'd breached this door long before then. Adrian was trapped across the city, possibly dying. No one was coming. They were alone. Lena looked at the supplies stacked along one wall. Emergency rations, water, medical kit, flares, and a single handgun with 2 magazines. She'd never fired a weapon in her life, had actively avoided them, hated everything they represented, but she picked it up anyway, felt the weight of it, the cold promise of violence. Mom? Noah's voice was small. What are you doing? What I have to. She checked the gun the way she'd seen Adrian do it. Magazine loaded, safety off, simple point and shoot. Probably wouldn't be enough. Vincent had trained killers. She was a waitress with a weapon and desperation. But she'd be damned if she died cowering. The monitor showed Vincent directing his men. They'd found the wine cellar entrance, were setting charges on the door. 2 minutes, maybe 3 before they breached. Lena positioned herself behind the only cover available, a supply shelf. Put Noah in the corner farthest from the door. Made him promise to stay down no matter what happened. I love you, she told him. Whatever happens, remember that. I love you too, Noah whispered. Then, don't die. I'll try not to. The charges detonated. The steel door buckled, but held. Second explosion. The door blew inward, smoke billowing. Lena aimed at the doorway, hands shaking so badly the gun wavered. Her finger found the trigger, squeezed. Nothing happened. Safety. The safety was still on. She fumbled with it, clicked it off, aimed again. Vincent Castellano stepped through the smoke like a ghost, unarmed, smiling. Brave, he said. Foolish, but brave. You really think you can shoot me? Stay back. Or what? You'll kill me? You're not a killer, Lena. You're a victim pretending to be dangerous. He took another step. Lena fired. The recoil shocked her, sent the bullet wide. It buried itself in stone walls 6 inches from Vincent's head. He didn't even flinch. See? Not a killer. He gestured, and 2 of his men entered behind him. Take the boy. Kill her. The men moved forward. Lena fired again. Again. Panic making her wild. One shot hit a man in the shoulder. He staggered, but didn't fall. The other grabbed her gun, twisted it from her hands. Lena fought, kicked, clawed, screamed. None of it mattered. She was shoved against the wall, a gun barrel pressed against her temple. No! Noah's scream was raw. He threw himself at Vincent's men with 8-year-old fury. Leave her alone! One of them backhanded him. Noah dropped. Something in Lena broke. She stopped fighting tactically and went purely feral, sank her teeth into the arm holding her, tasted blood. The man screamed, lost his grip. She grabbed his gun, got her finger on the trigger, fired point blank into his chest. He went down. She spun, aimed at the second man. He was faster. His bullet caught her in the shoulder, spun her around. Pain exploded white-hot and all-consuming. Lena collapsed, vision tunneling, the gun clattering from numb fingers. Vincent stood over her. Like I said, not a killer, just a victim. He aimed his own weapon at her head. The monitor on the wall exploded, not from malfunction, from the gunshot that came through it from outside. Then the room flooded with bodies and violence. Adrian Russo came through that broken doorway like the wrath of something ancient and merciless. Blood-soaked, wild-eyed, barely standing but still moving with lethal purpose. He shot Vincent's remaining guard before the man could turn. Put 3 rounds center mass. Professional. Efficient. Then he leveled his weapon at Vincent. Step away from her. Vincent smiled. Adrian. Fashionably late as always. I watched you die on camera 20 minutes ago. You watched a decoy. Did you really think I wouldn't anticipate an ambush? Adrian's gun never wavered. Last chance. Step away. Or what? You'll kill me? We both know you can't. Kill me and you start a war that burns this entire city. Wars can be rebuilt from. Dead children can't. Adrian's voice dropped to something barely human. You touched my family. That sentence has only one ending. Your family? Vincent laughed. They're not your family. They're Sarah Carter's leftovers. You just collected them like strays because you're lonely and broken and desperate for something to fill the void your real family left. You're right. Adrian's finger tightened on the trigger. But they're mine now, and no one touches what's mine. He fired. The bullet took Vincent in the kneecap. The old man dropped, screaming. Adrian crossed the room, kicked Vincent's weapon away, looked at Lena bleeding on the floor, at Noah huddled in the corner. Something in his expression cracked. Get them out, he told someone behind him. Marcus appeared, alive, badly wounded but functional. He gathered Noah, helped Lena to her feet. Adrian, Lena gasped. Don't. This isn't something you need to see. Don't kill him. Not like this. Not in front of... I'm not killing him in front of Noah. Adrian's voice was gentle. Wrong. I'm taking him somewhere appropriate. Somewhere his screams won't traumatize children. Vincent was still conscious, clutching his shattered knee. You're making a mistake. My family will retaliate. They'll burn everything you love. Your family is dead. Adrian crouched beside him. Every senior member, every enforcer, every lieutenant, all of them gone while you were busy playing games here. I didn't come alone tonight, Vincent. I came with an army, and while you were distracted, they dismantled your empire piece by piece. Vincent's face went gray. You're lying. Am I? Adrian pulled out his phone, showed him something. Photos, maybe. Proof. Vincent's expression transformed from defiant to devastated. Now, Adrian continued conversationally, you're going to tell me everything. Every account, every property, every dirty secret, and then you're going to disappear, permanently. He hauled Vincent upright, dragged him toward the exit. Lena tried to follow. Marcus held her back. Let him do what needs doing. He's going to torture him. Yes, that's not justice. No, it's survival. Marcus's expression was grim. Vincent Castellano murdered Sarah and her husband. Tried to murder you and Noah. He doesn't get justice. He gets consequences. They were guided through the ruined safe house. Bodies everywhere. Vincent's men all dead or dying. The beautiful prison had become a slaughterhouse. Outside, dawn was breaking. Vehicles waited. Medical personnel. Adrian's surviving forces. Lena was loaded into an ambulance. Noah climbed in with her, refusing to let go of her hand. As they pulled away, she caught one last glimpse of Adrian forcing Vincent into a nondescript van. Their eyes met through the window. Adrian mouthed 3 words. "I'll come back." Then he was gone, taking Vincent Castellano into darkness and pain. The ambulance rushed them to a private hospital, one of Adrian's properties, run by doctors who didn't ask questions and didn't report gunshot wounds. Lena's shoulder was bad, but survivable. Bullet had gone straight through. They cleaned it, stitched it, loaded her with antibiotics and pain medication. Noah refused to leave her side. He held her uninjured hand while they worked, silent tears streaming down his face. "I thought you were dead," he whispered when the doctors finally left them alone. "I'm okay, baby." "You got shot." "But I'm okay." Lena pulled him close with her good arm. "We're both okay. Because of Adrian." "Yes." "Where is he?" Lena didn't know how to answer that, didn't know how to explain that Adrian was somewhere making a man suffer before erasing him from existence. "Handling things," she said finally. "Is he coming back?" He promised he would. Noah absorbed this. "Do you believe him?" Lena thought about Adrian's face when he'd found them, the raw terror beneath the violence, the way he'd looked at them like they were the only thing in the world that mattered. "Yes," she said. "I believe him." They waited. Hours crawled past. Noah eventually fell asleep curled against Lena's side. She stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the attack. The terror, the gunfire, the feel of a weapon in her hands. She'd killed a man tonight, shot him point blank and watched him die. The realization should have devastated her, should have triggered guilt or horror or shame. Instead, she felt nothing except cold satisfaction. That man had tried to murder her child, and she'd stopped him, permanently. Maybe Vincent was right. Maybe she wasn't a killer, but she was becoming something close enough. Near midnight, the door opened. Adrian entered, looking worse than she'd ever seen him, covered in blood, some his, some definitely not. A fresh bandage around his ribs, exhaustion carved into every line of his face, but alive. He stopped at the foot of the bed, eyes moving between her and Noah. "You're okay." "We're okay." Lena's voice cracked. "Are you?" "I've been worse." He moved closer, careful not to wake Noah. "Vincent's been handled. His entire organization dismantled. The threat is over." "Handled." She repeated the word carefully. "Meaning?" "Meaning he won't hurt anyone ever again." "Is he dead?" Adrian's silence was answer enough. Lena should feel something about that, should care that a human being had been erased from existence. Instead, she just felt tired. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for coming back, for saving us. I'll always come back." Adrian's hand found hers, warm and solid and real. "Always. That's a promise." "Don't make promises you can't keep." "I don't." He glanced at Noah sleeping peacefully. "He spoke during the attack, called you Mom." "He's been talking more since the safe house, since you started spending time with him." Lena studied Adrian's ravaged face. "He thinks of you as his father now." Something shifted in Adrian's expression, cracked open. "I don't deserve that." "No, but you have it anyway." She squeezed his hand. "What happens now? Is it really over?" "The Castellanos are finished, but there'll be fallout. Other families moving into the power vacuum, alliances shifting. It'll take months to stabilize." "And us?" "You tell me." Adrian's voice went quiet. "Before all this, you said we'd talk when I came back alive. I'm back. I'm alive. So talk." Lena looked at this man who'd lied to her, manipulated her, used her, who'd also protected her, saved her, shown her nephew more patience and care than anyone else, who'd killed for them tonight, multiple times, without hesitation. She should tell him to leave, should take Noah and run as far as possible from this world of blood and violence. Instead, she heard herself say, "I love you." The words hung between them, raw, honest, irrevocable. Adrian's breath caught. You can't. Not after everything I can. I do. Lena forced herself to meet his eyes. I love you despite the lies, despite the manipulation, despite knowing exactly what you are and what you're capable of. And maybe that makes me as broken as you are. But it's the truth. Lena, I'm not finished. She pushed herself upright, ignoring the pain in her shoulder. I love you. But if we do this, if we're really doing this, things change. No more secrets. No more treating me like I can't handle reality. We're partners, or we're nothing. Partners, Adrian repeated slowly, testing the word. Equals. In everything. Your world, your business, your decisions. I'm part of it. Completely. That world nearly got you killed tonight. That world is your world. And if I love you, I love all of it. The good and the terrible and everything in between. Lena's voice firmed. I'm not asking you to change what you are. I'm asking you to let me stand beside you while you do it. Adrian stared at her like she'd offered him something incomprehensible. You're serious? Completely. You understand what you're accepting, the violence, the danger, the moral compromises. I shot a man tonight, killed him, and I'd do it again to protect Noah. So yes, Adrian, I understand perfectly. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Adrian leaned forward, pressed his forehead against hers. The intimacy of it stole her breath. I don't deserve you, he whispered. Probably not, but you have me anyway. And Noah? He's already decided you're his father. That ship sailed weeks ago. Adrian's control finally shattered. He kissed her, desperate and gentle, and flavored with blood and smoke. Lena kissed him back, sealing whatever insane pact they were making. When they finally broke apart, Adrian was actually smiling. Barely. But it was there. So we're doing this, he said. We're doing this. You, me, Noah. Actually trying to be a family. Yes. In my world, with all its complications. Yes. Adrian laughed. The sound was rough, disbelieving. We're both insane. Probably. Lena settled back against the pillows, exhaustion finally winning. But we're insane together. That has to count for something. It counts for everything. Adrian stayed while she drifted toward sleep. The last thing Lena heard before unconsciousness claimed her was his voice, quiet and fierce. I'll protect you both, whatever it takes, for the rest of my life. And despite everything, despite the blood and violence and moral decay, Lena believed him. Because Adrian Russo didn't make promises he couldn't keep. He just broke everything else instead. 3 months after the night Vincent Castellano disappeared from the world, Lena Carter stood in the marble hallway of Adrian Russo's estate, watching movers carry the last boxes from her apartment into rooms that would now be permanently hers. Not the guest suites on the second floor where she and Noah had been staying. The master bedroom, Adrian's bedroom. The symbolism wasn't lost on either of them. You're sure about this? Adrian asked from behind her. His voice carried that careful tone he used now when discussing their relationship, like he was still waiting for her to wake up and realize she'd made a terrible mistake. Lena turned to face him. 3 months had softened some of his edges. The constant tension in his shoulders had eased slightly. He smiled more often, though it still looked unpracticed, like a skill he'd forgotten and was slowly relearning. I've been sure for weeks, she said. You're the one who keeps asking. Because this is permanent. Once you move into that room with me, everyone knows. My associates, my enemies, the entire organization. You become a target. I became a target the night you pulled me out of that alley. This just makes it official. Adrian moved closer, studied her face like he was searching for cracks in her certainty. You could still walk away, take Noah somewhere safe. I'd make sure you had everything you needed. I don't want safe. I want this. Lena took his hand, felt the familiar calluses, the warmth. I want you. I want the life we're building, messy and dangerous and completely insane as it is. Something in his expression finally relaxed. Okay? Then welcome home. He kissed her there in the hallway while movers pretended not to notice. And for the first time since the nightmare began, Lena felt like she'd actually arrived somewhere instead of just surviving. Noah appeared at the top of the stairs, a new sketchbook tucked under his arm. In 3 months, he'd transformed. Still quiet, still prone to nightmares, but functioning. Healing. He attended his specialized school 5 days a week, saw his therapist twice weekly, and spent his free time in Isabella's old art studio creating pieces that made his teachers call him gifted. "Is she really moving in?" Noah asked Adrian. "Really moving in. Good. It was weird having you sleep in different rooms anyway." Adrian laughed. Actually laughed. Full and genuine. "Out of the mouths of children. I'm not a child. I'm 8 3/4. My mistake." Adrian ruffled Noah's hair, got swatted away for his trouble. "What are you working on today?" "A portrait of our family." Noah said it casually, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Can you both sit for me later?" "Our family." The words hit Lena square in the chest every single time. "Of course," Adrian said. "After dinner?" Noah nodded, already distracted by artistic vision, and disappeared back toward his studio. Lena watched him go, then turned to Adrian. "He's doing better." "He is. His therapist says the stability is helping, knowing he has a home, a family, people who won't abandon him." "You mean you won't abandon him?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "I won't. Ever. That's a promise." "I know." And she did. Whatever else Adrian Russo was, crime boss, killer, manipulator, he was absolutely devoted to Noah. Had been since the beginning, even when Lena was too angry to see it clearly. The rest of the day blurred into organized chaos, unpacking, reorganizing, learning to share space with someone after years of being alone. Adrian was surprisingly easy to live with. Neat, respectful of boundaries, content to let Lena claim half the enormous closet and rearrange furniture until it felt like theirs instead of just his. That night, after Noah had finished his preliminary sketches and been tucked into bed, Lena and Adrian sat on the balcony off the master bedroom, watching stars emerge over grounds that no longer felt like a fortress. "I need to tell you something," Adrian said quietly. Lena's stomach tightened. "That sounds ominous." "Not ominous, just honest." He turned to face her. "I'm stepping back from active operations, transitioning to legitimate business only." She stared at him. "What?" "The restaurant empire is profitable on its own. Same with real estate development. I don't need the criminal enterprises anymore. And I don't want Noah growing up watching me conduct that business." Adrian's voice went rough. "I've spent 15 years building an empire on blood and fear. I'm tired, Lena. And I want better. For him. For us. You can't just walk away from that world, can you?" "I'm not walking away. I'm transitioning power to people I trust. Legitimate succession. Clean hands." He paused. "It'll take time, a year, maybe 2. But eventually, I'll just be a businessman who used to have a dangerous reputation." Lena processed this. "Why now?" "Because a few months ago, I almost lost everything that matters. You, Noah. The chance at something resembling a normal life." Adrian's hand found hers. "I've been a monster for so long I forgot I could choose to be something else. But you remind me every day that I'm more than the worst things I've done." "You're not a monster." "I've done monstrous things. So have I now. I killed a man, remember? In self-defense. That's different." "Is it?" Lena studied him. "You've killed to protect people too, to survive, to keep your world from collapsing. Maybe the only difference between us is scale and opportunity." Adrian was quiet a long time. "You really believe that?" "I believe people are complicated, that we're all capable of terrible things under the right circumstances. And I believe love means accepting someone completely, their past, their darkness, everything. Even when that darkness includes murder? Even then." Lena squeezed his hand. "You've changed my life, Adrian. Saved it multiple times. Given Noah a home and stability and a father figure when he desperately needed one. That's who you are to me. Not the crimes, not the violence. Just you." Adrian pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. "I don't deserve you. We've established that, but you're stuck with me anyway." They sat together while night deepened and the city lights spread across the horizon like fallen stars. Somewhere in that urban sprawl, Adrian's former world continued operating. But here, in this moment, they were just 2 broken people trying to build something whole. The next morning brought unexpected visitors. Lena was making breakfast, still getting used to the massive kitchen, the professional-grade appliances, when Margaret appeared looking uncharacteristically nervous. "Ms. Carter." There are two people here to see you. They say they're from social services. Ice flooded Lena's veins. What? Child Protective Services. They have questions about Noah's living situation. Adrian appeared from his office, expression already hardening into the cold mask he wore when threatened. I'll handle this. No. Lena grabbed his arm. Let me. If they see you go into crime boss mode, it'll make everything worse. She found them in the formal living room. A man and woman in their 40s, both wearing expressions of professional concern that didn't quite hide their judgment. Ms. Carter, the woman said, I'm Janet Pierce, and this is Thomas Webb. We're here regarding Noah Carter's welfare. Lena forced herself to stay calm. What about his welfare? We received an anonymous report expressing concern about his living conditions, specifically that he's residing with a known criminal figure and may be in danger. Known criminal figure. Lena repeated it slowly. You mean Adrian Russo? Mr. Russo has a complicated history with law enforcement, Thomas said carefully. While never convicted, he's been investigated multiple times for activities that would make him an unsuitable guardian for a minor child. He's not Noah's guardian. I am. But the child resides in Mr. Russo's home under his influence, which raises questions about your judgment as guardian. Anger sparked hot and immediate. My judgment? I've provided Noah with stability, therapy, education, everything he needs to heal from watching his parents die. What exactly about that shows poor judgment? Janet's expression softened slightly. We're not questioning your love for your nephew, Ms. Carter. We're questioning the environment. Living with someone who has Mr. Russo's background exposes Noah to potential danger. As opposed to what? Going back to the apartment where his abusive guardian found us? Where we lived in constant fear? There are other options. Foster care, group homes specifically designed for traumatized children. You want to put him in the system. Lena's voice went flat. You want to take a child who's already lost everything and rip him away from the only family he has left. We want to ensure his safety. He is safe. Safer than he's ever been. Adrian has provided round-the-clock security, enrolled him in the best school for trauma recovery, gotten him therapy with a specialist who's actually helping. What exactly would foster care provide that he doesn't already have? Thomas consulted his notes. A traditional family structure, appropriate role models, an environment free from criminal influence. Criminal influence, Lena wanted to scream. Let me tell you about criminal influence. 3 months ago, Vincent Castellano, an actual convicted felon, tried to murder Noah because he witnessed his parents' execution. Adrian Russo stopped that, permanently. So forgive me if I trust the man who saved my nephew's life over a system that would have let him die. Janet and Thomas exchanged glances. Something in their body language shifted. Ms. Carter, Janet said quietly, we're not here to take Noah away. We're here to ensure his welfare is being properly managed. If you can demonstrate that his living situation is stable and safe, we'll close the investigation. How do I demonstrate that? Home inspection. Interviews with Noah's therapist and teachers, documentation of his progress, essentially proof that he's thriving here rather than being endangered. Adrian appeared in the doorway. He'd clearly been listening. You'll have full cooperation, whatever documentation you need, wherever you need access. I want this resolved quickly and thoroughly. Thomas stood, tried to look authoritative. Mr. Russo, we'll need to interview you as well. Understood. Schedule it whenever convenient. Adrian's voice was perfectly controlled. Professional. Nothing like the killer Lena had seen 3 months ago. But understand something. Noah is my family. I will provide whatever evidence necessary to prove he's safe, loved, and thriving, because he is. Janet studied him with open curiosity. You care about the boy. I'd die for him. Is that care enough for your assessment? That remains to be seen. They left with promises to return for the formal inspection. Lena sagged against the wall the moment they were gone. This is Derek's doing, she said. Has to be. Who else would report us? Derek's in Arizona under supervised probation, but he has friends, family, people who'd make that call on his behalf. Adrian's expression darkened. I'll find out who. Handle it. No. Lena grabbed his arm. No more handling things with violence. That's exactly what they're looking for. We do this legitimately. We prove Noah's better off here through documentation and evidence. Nothing else. And if they don't accept the evidence, then we fight in court with lawyers, like normal people. She forced herself to breathe. You said you wanted to transition to legitimate business. This is what that looks like, solving problems without bodies. Adrian looked like he wanted to argue. Instead, he nodded slowly. Okay, we do this your way, but if they try to take him, they won't. Because we're going to show them exactly how loved and safe he is. The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in bureaucratic navigation, home inspections that examined every corner of the estate, interviews with Noah's therapist, who testified to his remarkable progress, teachers who documented his academic achievements and social development. Even Margaret provided a statement about the stable, nurturing environment Adrian had created. Noah himself was interviewed, gently, carefully, by a child psychologist trained in trauma cases. Lena wasn't allowed in the room, but afterward the psychologist's expression was thoughtful rather than concerned. He's a remarkable child, she told Lena. Articulate, aware, emotionally intelligent. And when I asked who he feels safest with, he said, my mom and my dad, by which he meant you and Mr. Russo. We haven't formally adopted. I know, but in his mind, you're already his parents. That kind of attachment, that sense of security. It's exactly what traumatized children need to heal. The psychologist paused. I'm recommending the case be closed. Noah is thriving here. Removing him would cause significantly more harm than any theoretical risk of his current environment. 3 days later, Janet Pierce called with official notification that the investigation was concluded. No further action required. Noah would remain in Lena's custody, and his living situation was deemed appropriate. Lena cried when she hung up, relief and exhaustion pouring out in ugly sobs. Adrian found her in the kitchen, pulled her close, let her shake apart against his chest. It's over, he murmured. They can't take him. I know. I couldn't lose him. I can't lose either of you. You won't. I promise you won't. That night, they told Noah together. He absorbed the news with his typical seriousness, then asked the question that had apparently been bothering him for weeks. If I'm staying here forever, can I call you Dad? For real? Adrian's composure shattered. He dropped to his knees in front of Noah, eyes wet. You can call me whatever you want. I want to call you Dad, and I want you to adopt me, officially, so we're really family. Lena's breath caught. She and Adrian had discussed adoption vaguely someday, when things were more settled, but Noah had apparently been planning this himself. Are you sure? Adrian asked, voice rough. That's a permanent decision. I know. I want it anyway. Noah looked between them. You're my parents. I want everyone to know. Adrian looked at Lena. She nodded, throat too tight for words. Okay, Adrian said. Then we'll start the process. Make it official. Noah threw his arms around Adrian's neck, holding tight. Adrian wrapped him close and Lena joined them, the three of them tangled together in the middle of the kitchen while something fundamental shifted and settled into place. Family. Not by blood or accident, but by choice. The adoption process took 4 months. 4 months of paperwork and background checks and court appearances. 4 months of lawyers arguing that despite Adrian's complicated history, he demonstrated consistent, appropriate parenting. 4 months of testimonials from teachers, therapists, even Tony from the restaurant, who swore under oath that Adrian had become a different man since Lena and Noah entered his life. The final hearing fell on a Tuesday in March. Rain hammered the courthouse steps as they entered. Lena, Adrian, and Noah dressed in formal clothes that felt like armor. The judge was a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and zero tolerance for bullshit. She reviewed the case file with meticulous attention, asked Noah questions about his feelings and his home life, examined every piece of evidence presented. Finally, she looked at Adrian directly. Mr. Russo, you have a documented history of association with organized crime, multiple investigations, allegations of violence. Why should I grant you custody of this child? Adrian stood, faced her squarely. Because I love him. Because I've provided him with stability, safety, and the resources to heal from profound trauma. Because in the 7 months he's been in my care, he's transformed from a silent, terrified child into a thriving young boy. And because I'm not the man I was a year ago, I'm better because of him and his mother. People don't change overnight, Mr. Russo. No, they change slowly, through daily choices to be better than they were, and I've made those choices every single day since Noah came into my life. The judge studied him. If I grant this adoption, you understand you'll be legally responsible for this child until he reaches adulthood. His welfare becomes your primary concern, not your business, not your reputation. Him. I understand, and I accept that responsibility completely. More silence. Then the judge looked at Noah. Young man, do you want Mr. Russo to adopt you? Noah stood, small but certain. Yes, he's my dad. I want it to be official. Even knowing about his past, the things he's done? Everyone has a past. What matters is who they are now, and now he's my dad who helps with homework and teaches me chess and makes sure I feel safe. Noah's voice strengthened. He's a good person, even if he did bad things before. The judge's expression finally softened. Out of the mouths of children, indeed. She signed the papers with deliberate strokes. Adoption granted. Noah Carter is hereby legally adopted by Adrian Russo and Lena Carter. Congratulations, you're officially a family. The courtroom erupted in quiet celebration. Margaret was crying. Tony had shown up and was grinning. Even their lawyer looked genuinely happy. But Lena only had eyes for Adrian. He was staring at the papers like they might disappear, like this might be a dream. His hand shook slightly as he signed his name next to hers on the official documents. Noah Russo. That was his legal name now. Their son. Not metaphorically or emotionally, but actually, legally, permanently. Adrian pulled Noah into a hug that lasted long enough to make the boy squirm. I've got you, he whispered, for the rest of my life. I've got you. I know, Dad. Outside the courthouse, rain had stopped. Weak sunlight broke through clouds, painting everything gold and new. They drove home together. All three of them in Adrian's car, Noah chattering excitedly about telling his friends at school, about changing his name on his artwork, about the cake Margaret had promised to make. Home. The word had weight now, substance. That night, after Noah had finally crashed from excitement and been tucked into bed, Lena and Adrian sat in the library where this had all begun months ago. The room where he'd first told her about his father, where she'd started seeing past the crime boss to the broken man underneath. I need to tell you something, Adrian said. Lena braced herself. What? I finalized the transition today. All criminal operations transferred to new management, clean break. As of this morning, I'm officially just a legitimate businessman. She stared at him. You're serious? Completely. I'm done with that world. Done with violence and moral compromise and everything that came before. He took her hand. I want to be the man Noah thinks I am. The man you deserve. And I can't do that while maintaining my old life. Adrian, you built that empire. It's been your entire adult life. And now I'm building something else, something better. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Which brings me to the other thing I need to say. Lena's heart stopped. Adrian opened the box, revealed a ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. Marry me, he said. Not because it's logical or convenient or completes some image. Marry me because I love you, because you've changed everything about who I am and who I want to be, because I want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life and build this family we've somehow created from all the broken pieces. Lena couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at this man who'd started as her savior, became her jailer, transformed into her partner, and was now asking to be her husband. Yes, she heard herself say, yes, I'll marry you. Adrian's relief was palpable. He slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, then pulled her close and kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. I don't deserve you, he murmured against her mouth. Probably not, but you have me anyway. They were married 6 weeks later in the estate gardens under lights strung between trees and a canopy of spring flowers. Small ceremony, just close friends and the people who mattered. Noah stood with them as ring bearer and witness, wearing a suit he'd picked himself and a smile that hadn't faded in days. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Noah actually spoke up. I object to this taking so long. Can we get to the cake part? Laughter rippled through the small crowd. Even Adrian smiled, genuinely and openly. The ceremony concluded with vows they'd written themselves, Adrian promised to be worthy of Lena's faith, to protect their family, to choose love over fear every single day. Lena promised to stand beside him, to call him out when he slipped into old patterns, to build a life that honored both their broken pasts and their hopeful future. When they finally kissed, Noah cheered loudly enough to startle birds from nearby trees. The reception was small but joyful. Dancing, toasts, Margaret crying openly, Tony giving a speech about how love transforms even the most hardened hearts. Noah falling asleep at their table before dessert, exhausted by happiness. That night, after guests had left and Noah had been carried to bed, Lena and Adrian stood on the balcony watching stars emerge over their grounds. "We did it," Lena said quietly. "Actually built something real from all the chaos." "We did," Adrian pulled her close. "Question is, where do we go from here?" "Forward. Together. With our son." She paused. "Actually, there's something I need to tell you." "That sounds ominous." "Not ominous, just, unexpected." Lena took his hand, placed it on her still flat stomach. "We're going to need to turn one of those extra bedrooms into a nursery." Adrian went completely still. "You're pregnant. About 8 weeks. I found out last week, but wanted to wait until after the wedding to tell you. We're having a baby." He said it like testing the reality of the words. "An actual baby. An actual baby, due in December." For a moment, Adrian just stood there, processing. Then he dropped to his knees, pressed his face against her stomach, and started laughing. Deep, uncontrolled, joyful laughter that Lena had never heard from him before. "We're having a baby," he repeated. "We're actually having a baby. Are you okay with that?" He looked up at her, eyes wet. "Okay? Lena, I never let myself imagine." His voice broke. "I'm terrified and thrilled and completely overwhelmed." "So that's a yes?" "That's the biggest yes of my entire life." They stayed there together, wrapped in each other, while stars wheeled overhead and the future stretched out before them full of possibility instead of danger. 7 months later, on a cold December night, while snow fell softly outside, Lena gave birth to a daughter they named Sarah. Sarah Russo. Named for the sister Lena had lost, the woman whose death had inadvertently brought them together, the ghost who'd haunted the beginning of their story. Adrian held his daughter for the first time with hands that had killed and destroyed and built empires, and wept openly at the tiny, perfect life they'd created. Noah, now 9, stood beside the hospital bed, staring at his baby sister with an expression of fierce protectiveness that made Lena's heart ache. "I'm going to take care of her," he announced. "Make sure nobody ever hurts her." "I know you will," Adrian said. "You're going to be an amazing big brother." "The best," Noah agreed seriously. Then, softer. "Do you think Aunt Sarah would have liked her?" Lena's throat tightened. "I think she would have loved her. Loved all of this." They stayed that way for a long time, the 4 of them together in a hospital room that smelled like antiseptic and new beginnings. A family forged from tragedy and violence and impossible choices. Outside, the city that had witnessed their blood and pain continued turning, indifferent to their happiness. But inside, in that small room, they had everything that mattered. Years later, when Sarah was 5 and Noah was 13 and beginning to think about high school, Lena would stand in the art studio watching her son create something beautiful while her daughter practiced piano downstairs and her husband made dinner, and she'd think about the night in the alley, the night she'd nearly died, the night Adrian Russo had stepped from the darkness and changed everything. She'd think about Derek and Vincent and all the violence that had brought them here, about the lies and manipulation and moral compromises that paved their path. And she'd realize something fundamental. She regretted none of it. Every terrible choice, every moment of fear, every drop of blood spilled, it had all led here, to this family, this life, this impossible happiness built from ruins. Adrian found her there, wrapped his arms around her from behind, pressed a kiss to her temple. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "How far we've come, how different everything is." "Better? So much better." She turned in his arms. "Do you ever regret it, leaving your old life behind?" "Not once. That empire was built on death and fear. He gestured to their home, their children, their life. This is built on love. There's no comparison, even when things get hard, especially then, because hard with you is better than easy without you. Sarah's piano practice ended in a crash of discordant notes and frustrated shouting. Noah called down that he'd help. More chaos erupted. Normal family chaos, beautiful and loud and completely ordinary. Adrian laughed, pressed his forehead to Lena's. Ready to referee? Always. They headed downstairs together, toward the noise and mess and perfect imperfection of their life. A life that had started in blood and darkness, but had become something else entirely, something worth every terrible thing they'd survived to reach it. Because in the end, that's what survival meant. Not just staying alive, but finding reasons to live. And Lena Carter, now Lena Russo, had found hers in the most unlikely place, in the arms of a monster who'd learned to be a man, in the eyes of a broken child who'd learned to be whole, in the future they'd built from the wreckage of their pasts. And that was enough, more than enough. It was everything.